The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The NFL's new league year begins today, which means all the signings and trades you've been hearing about since Monday can become official.
Mac Hollins, wide receiver.
I think it is low-key perfect.
Bills also reportedly agreed to terms with Eagles free agent linebacker Nicholas Morrow.
We've won the offseason, G, with that move.
I trust Brandon.
Picked off! Intercepted by Jordan Poyer in the end zone! He picked it off!
Mike Danger.
I feel like we've kind of telegraphed every move that Brandon Beane has made, which may not be a good thing, because if we can do it, then the rest of the league kind of knows what your priorities are and what you're doing. Is Beane settling, or is he actually trying to work that comp pick formula to his advantage here for 2025?
Gene Battaglia.
No, I think that the expectation is the Bills are going to wait and see what's available here maybe next week, maybe a month from now.
7-3, Sabres beat the Red Wings.
The fraudulent Detroit Red Wings.
Amerks Crunch. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Good afternoon. Pull up a stool and join us. Welcome on in. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia is open for business. We appreciate you stopping by. Our little slice of heaven here at 95.7 FM. AM 950, the free to download Odyssey app, our stream on YouTube and Twitch at The Fan Rochester. We thank you for listening. We thank you for sharing and telling a friend about the Sports Bar. And we appreciate your calls as well at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326. I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia.
How much money? I'm squinting here. Dane Jackson got what?
Okay, before we talk about what Dane Jackson got, can we whip out the handy-dandy free agency flow chart?
Okay, so it goes something like this. Your team has a free agent. He signs elsewhere. Oh, my gosh, that was too much money.
Right.
He resigns with your team. Ooh, I really like it.
The deal.
Or
Yep.
it also applies to an incoming free agent.
Yep.
That's pretty much it.
Yep. We're all blinded by our own fandom.
Okay.
This is ridiculous.
This is stupid. And okay, pop quiz, everybody. Who's the dumbest team in the NFL today?
It's the Carolina Panthers.
That's correct.
Good for Dane Jackson. Dane Jackson, former Buffalo Bills corner, has been signed by the Carolina Panthers on a 2-year deal worth up to $14.5 million. Now, worth up to $14.5 million, I suppose, is probably incentive laden, but that's a hefty deal for a guy that, you know, didn't really get on the field until it was needed for injury. Dane Jackson, I mean, the positive thing you'd say about Dane Jackson last season, a pretty good tackler, but even then last season there were moments where it was like, Dane Jackson just isn't cutting it.
Well, that's why the Bills made a trade, giving up, a draft swap there.
They didn't want him out there, right?
Right, like, yeah, okay, we can kind of do better, and you bring in Rasul Douglas, who has some years on Dane Jackson. I'll say this about Dane Jackson. I think he's a good tackler. He offers you that. However, like, here, let me show you an example. This from the divisional round where he lets Travis Kelce go. That was his assignment. So good luck to Carolina as they give Dane Jackson maybe up to $14.5 million. A guy who started 28 games for Buffalo.
And if I go back to the flow chart here, if I look at it, the Bills. I love this move, Gene. This move is spectacular for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, when you're talking about wide receivers and names that are available and guys that are going to be impactful, Mac Hollins is the top of the list. Woof, Brandon Beane.
Wow, Mac Hollins, a guy who can block. 1 year, $3 million.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
That's it for a guy who you remember him from the Dolphins, maybe the 1 year with the Raiders, and last year he was in Atlanta. I don't remember him being with Atlanta. Yeah, Mac Hollins, 30 years old. I think he takes the place here, Danger, if we're going to slot in everything. Can we say he's an upgrade over Trent Sherfield?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. And if you're a Bills fan waiting for the big, exciting move, I think more Mac Hollins and less Mike Williams is what you can expect. Like, Mike Williams was just released by the Chargers this afternoon. He's a cap casualty, freeing up $20 million in cap space for LA. And he'll become a free agent. But if you're thinking that the Bills are going to be in line for a guy like Mike Williams, I'll be like, no, unless Mike Williams wants to play somewhere next season for or for the Bills at a veteran minimum, then I would say that the Bills are probably not shopping in that section.
Yeah, and this should make camp fun because Mac Hollins signs with Buffalo. Whenever you hear 1-year deal, that means you got to earn your spot here on the roster. It's true for anybody, of course, but for Mac Hollins, say a Justin Shorter comes in and like, whoa. And Shorter is, tearing it up. He could take that spot easily. I'm assuming the Bills are going to draft a wide receiver. And I'd also assume this, too, that the Bills are not done at the receiver position in free agency.
Or at safety and other areas of the team, the roster. We're going to go through all of the moves that have been made here shortly, and we'll focus in on the Buffalo Bills later on this afternoon at 4:25 this afternoon in the Sports Bar. We'll be joined by our buddy Alex Brasky, Bills Digest, the Batavia Daily News, and we haven't had Alex on since last Wednesday, and the transformational cap clearing that Brandon Beane executed, some of these free agent additions for the Buffalo Bills. We'll get Brasky's take on all of that right around 4:25 and talk plenty of Bills with Alex Brasky. PJ Glasser is the host of BetQL's Send It In. He stops by at 3:25. He texted us this morning to let us know he's at the ACC tournament.
Which is in D.C. So, gosh, I'm kind of jealous.
Oh, totally.
I mean, I've been to conference tournaments. I've been to the NCAA tournament. Here's the one thing whenever you go to these events, everybody's in a great mood. You're not working. You're watching multiple games. You somehow get into the game if it's not one of your two teams, and then you're sitting with fellow fans, and it's just a great atmosphere. Except in DC, where I saw the tickets are going for $5. Kind of don't understand that. They're in the secondary market for the Orange tonight. So we'll be talking here with PJ Glasser, host of Send It In, coming up.
Yeah, PJ will get us some winners in college basketball. He'll paint a picture for us with Syracuse playing there at the ACC tonight. And most importantly, let's not bury the real reason why we have PJ on with us. It's the basketball region of the Baltimore accent bracket today with PJ. We've got our 8 seeds in professional basketball. We'll run them by PJ, let him, in his Baltimore accent, crown a basketball region Baltimore accent bracket champion this afternoon.
And we welcome your entries. You can write to us at The Fan Rochester on Elon's Twitter.
If the 1 seed doesn't win, major upset in the basketball, right? It feels like such a chalky play that if he doesn't win, I will be floored. We'll see what PJ says.
Kind of like the 2 seed.
Ooh. You like a little upset here.
Well, and then knowing where PJ is from, 3 seeds in play here, too.
For sure. Our Odyssey Sports Betting Insider, the host of BetQL's Send It In, PJ Glasser, Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. You can reach out to us on Elon's Twitter. That's X at the Fan Rochester. We love interacting with you there. Just understand that if we don't read your tweets on the air, it's not a personal slight. I one of our regulars slid into my DMs and wanted to know why we don't read his tweets anymore. And most of the time his tweets are centered around his team, his favorite team, which isn't the Buffalo Bills. And I'm not going to say who it is because I want to protect his anonymity in this instance, but just understand that, if we don't get to all of your tweets, it's probably because you're tweeting something at us that doesn't flow with our conversation.
I'll be a little more direct. There's been other sports shows, the Bob Matthews Show, who you've been listening to for years, maybe if you lived in Rochester, and it was anything comes through. And you know what? We've got to kind of be the gatekeeper. That's all. It's
nothing personal.
No, it's nothing personal. If it's good, you get read.
I'll put it to you this way. Every now and then you'll listen to a national or even a regional or local sports talk show. Okay, I'll be more direct. One Bills Live every now and then. You'll hear a call slip through and you're like, how the hell did that call get...
They don't screen their calls.
How did that call get through?
They don't screen their calls.
So we like to avoid that here in the Sports Bar. We encourage you to call us, but, the old Jim Rome rule applies. Have a take and don't suck. If you're going to call 866-4326, match us. Let's go. Let's talk it through, but don't come in weak and don't get offended or upset if you send us a tweet and we don't read it on the air. If we don't read it on the air, it's probably because you want to talk about something that we're not talking about at that very moment, and we're not going to just switch gears for the sake of your tweet. We love you. Yeah. We appreciate you listening. But as far as, producing an entertaining show, something that we don't want the show to come to a screeching halt or take a sharp left or right turn based on what you want to talk about at any given moment.
We can't talk about the Razor Sharks or the Rhinos or no.
Hey,
No.
it's me, Gino. It's me, Mr. Cleveland Browns, calling in, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that Deshaun Watson. It's like, we're not a Browns show, and we're not talking about what's going on in Cleveland, Mr. Cleveland Browns. So we appreciate you listening, but we were talking about the Bills, and we were talking about the NFL league year getting underway today at 4 o'clock. So with all of that in mind, Gino, yes, Mac Hollins joining the Buffalo Bills on a deal with, what did you say it was? 1 year, $3 million. $3 million. He played with the Raiders back in 2022. It was Atlanta last season. The Eagles drafted him in the and cut him after the 2018 season after he missed it. I believe it was a torn ACL. There's more than just Dane Jackson landing in a new destination. A couple of other former Buffalo Bills landing in Miami. You heard earlier, Jordan Poyer signing with the Dolphins. That's a 1-year deal. If he's back there, he'll be playing next to Javon Holland in Miami's secondary. And Saran Neal also signing a 1-year deal with the Dolphins.
Okay, so some other guys moving around the league here.
My head is scrambled. I need somebody smarter than me to tell me where the Bills sit now with the compensatory draft pick formula. Because these guys were cut before the league year. Do they count because they've landed? They don't count, right?
Nope.
So Poyer doesn't count.
No.
Neal doesn't count.
Nope.
Jackson does.
Jackson does.
And Hollins does, because Hollins was a free agent, unrestricted free
Correct.
agent.
So that's a wash today.
Okay. So we're still, I think, +1 in the compensatory formula.
Maybe, because then when it comes to playing time and everything else, if all these guys don't kind of actually make the team or whatever. I can't explain that whole formula to you, Danger.
It is. It's voodoo. But that's why I was saying somebody smarter than me needs to explain where we are right now. I'm not really sure. But we do have those news. And with the new league year getting underway here, and I believe the Mike Williams news out of L.A., I believe that gets them to where they need to be.
Well, that and coupled with Khalil Mack took a pay cut.
There you have it.
That's, so he didn't want to go back on the street. I had that question from a lot of people. Hey, wouldn't he come back to Buffalo? See, here's what I know. And I can tell you, what year was it? Was it 2017? He was still with the Raiders at this point, and Khalil Mack was making it clear to the Buffalo media. I'm standing like with other reporters, Leo Roth, Jerry Sullivan, hey, talk about Buffalo.
Stop bragging, Gino. Wow,
yes,
hanging out with royalty.
Yeah, and like Khalil Mack doesn't. You clearly got the impression there was something, he was not interested in talking about Buffalo.
Yeah.
Period, the end.
Yeah. Well, he played in Buffalo, but he's not from Buffalo.
He is from Florida.
Right.
And didn't get any D1 offers.
Yeah.
So his time in Buffalo was done.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, he didn't want anything to do with it. You'll see the moves here by the Raiders. If we stay in the AFC West for a second here, they're going to save another $19 million in cap space today by releasing Jimmy Garoppolo, by releasing wide receiver Hunter Renfrow.
Ooh. I like Hunter Renfrow.
His production has really slid off the last couple of years.
Correct. So could you get him on the cheap? I'm thinking like as a slot guy. Like there was years ago, like, bring in Hunter Renfrow. I'm like, okay, the Raiders overpaid him. Now can you get him on the cheap?
Les Welker.
Yeah, that's right.
Cole Beasley version 2.0.
Yeah.
He'll be a free agent. So we'll see where Hunter Renfrow's next destination is. Danielle Hunter knows he'll be playing with the Texans, as he's got a 2-year deal with them now, $48 million guaranteed, a max value of $51 million. Pittsburgh traded Deontay Johnson. Once again, Carolina is in the news. The Panthers get Deontay Johnson and send back Dante Jackson to Pittsburgh along with a 6th-round pick. I don't know what Carolina's doing. I really don't know what Carolina's doing. And our guy, a little dirty, Isaiah McKenzie, going to hang out with some familiar faces. The Giants have signed Isaiah McKenzie, so he'll reunite with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane here from their days all together in Buffalo.
Okay, so you asked for somebody smarter than you about the compensatory formula.
Yeah.
Part of it, too, is danger. You can bring in guys, but you're bringing guys for a minimum wage, essentially. You're not penalized. So with that, this is according to Chris Trapasso. Do we agree? He's a pretty smart guy.
He knows more than I do, yeah.
Yeah, CBS Sports. Because we don't know the official Morrow Hollins money, the Bills are right now +3 in compensatory pick formula in 2025. Floyd, Jackson, Davis, all out. Technically, no qualifying outside UFAs, but that could change if Morrow and Hollins are over $1.69 million APY.
Well, Hollins is, right? You said it was one year, $3 million.
$3 million, but if that is funny money, meaning void year at the end or something like that.
Well, if it's a 1 year deal, it wouldn't be a void year. It'd be incentives, right?
Incentives,
yeah. Yeah, it'd be incentives. All right, so good. Chris Trapasso is, as always, the guy that we lean on when we're talking about the things that are beyond our realm of possibility. It's voodoo. The compensatory draft pick formula is voodoo. But he's got a pretty good handle on it there, and that is helpful. So +3, not bad if you're Brandon Beane. If you consider that those deals that fit that threshold that Trapasso is laying out.
Can we go back to Mike Williams? Are you poking around on that?
The Bills?
Yeah,
I don't think they can afford him. I like Mike Williams.
Right now, is he the top receiver on the market, knowing Calvin Ridley still wants to go back to Jacksonville?
I think what you're going to get out of the top guys in this class, free agent class, is not necessarily what the Bills covet in a wide receiver. I think they want guys who can separate. I think they want separation guys. I think that's all they've ever wanted. Diggs can separate. They want separation guys. Gabe Davis isn't here because he can't separate. And if you can't separate, then you're probably not somebody that they're going to look at. And Williams is a go up and get it guy. And he's coming off a torn ACL. And I would be happy to let him be somebody else's problem. I like the player. I've always liked Mike Williams. I liked him when he was at Clemson. I was jealous when he got drafted by the Chargers. I've always liked the player. And he was having a pretty nice season last year prior to tearing the ACL. So it'll be worth paying attention to where he goes. I don't think that the Bills, one, I don't think he fits what they're looking for, and two, I don't think he's going to be in the range that they're looking for in terms of what they can actually pay him. The Sabres last night got a win, Gene, to take a sharp right turn, and the number 3 just popped in my head because we were talking about $3 million. And
yeah, well,
what's the percentage chance now that they have of making the postseason?
Puck, the Athletic, by their formula, 3%.
A 3% chance.
So
you're telling me there's a chance?
We're telling you there's a chance.
Yeah!
Look, I don't want to be the show danger that's going to say push for the playoffs and here they come and rah, rah, rah. Yes, there is a chance. I don't know if I'm going to make a choice. Are you taking the 97% chance or the 3% chance?
I don't know, man. There's something about setting your money on fire that is entertaining. When you just light it and you just watch it for a few seconds, it's fun. It's fun to just set your money on fire.
You are like my brother Kevin in that instance, where he comes back like, hey, this is like the year
he knows about fire. He's a chief for crying out loud.
Right, like, hey, I took the Sabres at like plus 10,000. Like, why would you do that? I don't care if the payoff will be so much.
Yeah. No, I understand it. No, I would take the 97% chance. I think that makes sense. That computes. But they looked like a different team last night. I told you Detroit was fraudulent. Detroit is not as good as their record says they are. I don't think Detroit is a postseason team. And there was a skirmish at their practice today. I don't know if you saw that or not. The Sabres, the Red Wings are the latest team to have been broken by the Buffalo Sabres, the LA Kings earlier this year, the other team. But you lose to the Sabres the way that the Red Wings lost to the Sabres last night, and it causes all kinds of problems within the organization. Anyways, my point is, I don't know that the Sabres are a postseason team either, but they did look like a different team on home ice last night in their just complete dismantling of Detroit. They looked crisp. They looked fast. They were playing loose and free and fun. Bo Byram looks like he's fit in nicely on that top defensive pairing.
By the time I had a chance to sit down, I'm like, oh, it's already 2-0 here.
Right.
Like,
it
it's like,
should have
yeah.
been more than 2-0
Yeah.
because one goal got called back on an offside. So that, I'm not saying that the season is salvageable. I don't think it is. And they might just do enough to finish a point or 3 points out of a playoff spot like they did last year, whatever the case may be. It's a disappointing season, but they looked like a different team last night. They played with a different level of confidence and swagger and speed. It was fun to watch. It was fun to watch a Sabres game where they look like that. And let's see if they can look that way again against the Islanders, a team that is looking like they could be a postseason team with Patrick Waugh behind the bench. Craziness. And we have Amherst hockey for you tonight as well, as the Amherst are in Syracuse. We'll have that action coming up for you on the Fan later on tonight. 7 o'clock, the puck drop with Don Stevens.
We will go to PJ Glasser, who's in D.C., by the way. Florida State over Virginia Tech, 86-76. Wake Forest up on Notre Dame. The Irish pulling the upset yesterday. Wake Forest taking care of business so far. They're up by 9 in the first half.
Up by
9 times.
And then tonight, Syracuse, NC State. So we'll get kind of the flavor down in D.C., where PJ, I'm sure, is having a great time.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, we'll get to the basketball region in the Baltimore accent bracket with PJ Glasser next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
More free agent movement today surrounding the Buffalo Bills. Mac Hollins is a wide receiver, played for the Eagles, Raiders, Dolphins, and last year the Falcons. 30-year-old comes in on a one-year deal. Following Jordan Poyer, in case you missed that, Poyer down in Miami, is safety Saran Neal. He goes to the Dolphins. Dane Jackson goes to Carolina. The corner gets 2 years up to $14.5 million. Meanwhile, safety Cam Lewis is coming back. He's excited about the opportunity.
Like I said, I've always been preparing to be a starter, since day one. So I don't think my mindset or confidence changed. It's just making the most out of this opportunity that's ahead of me. So just going out here and just compete.
Amerks are down the thruway at Syracuse tonight. We'll have the coverage at 7. Syracuse basketball tonight, taking on NC State in the ACC tournament. G. Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Excited for tournament season, opening day of the tournament. That's a week from tomorrow, Gino, and we will be live at the Tap Room, Bill Gray's on Chilai Avenue. Broadcasting live 3 to 6, a Sports Bar Live, Bill Gray's Tap Room, Chilai Avenue. Come down. You know the routine. We can share a cold one.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
We'll have great plates that Thursday at Bill Gray's, just $9.99. It's like this place is built for the sports bar. Join us live, Danger and Battaglia, the Tap Room at Bill Gray's in Chilai. That's a week from tomorrow. Bringing it up because as good as that is, I'm a little jealous of PJ Glasser today. PJ Glasser, the host of BetQL's Send It In, our Odyssey Sports betting insider, joining us. Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. And PJ joining us from D.C. and the Baltimore area. The ACC tournament is happening, and PJ is in attendance. I want to get to the bracket here in a second, PJ, but paint a picture, man. What's the scene like there at the ACC?
Yeah, guys, it's awesome. Obviously, the ACC tournament doesn't come to D.C. very often, but it's just cool, right? On a Wednesday, you get to watch all this college basketball, all these fans walking around. Florida State, Virginia Tech was a good start. Wake Forest and Notre Dame going on right now. So it's a lot of fun. The Cuse Orange is starting to pile in a little bit, and should be a good game tonight against NC State.
Yeah, do they clear their arena in between, PJ? Do you get to stick around for the Orange tonight?
They do. So the way tickets work, guys, is obviously today and tomorrow there's going to be 4 games throughout the day. So when you buy tickets, they break it into sessions. The early session, the first 2 games, and the night session. So yeah, they do clear it out. Whenever this game is over, they'll move people out of the arena, and then people with tickets to the night games will come in and watch the final 2 games of the day.
All right, I'm excited to get your favorite plays in college basketball for tonight and get some winners, PJ. But we know we have some important business to get to. As you know, our Baltimore accent bracket continues. We've gotten through the MLB bracket, the NFL region last week. Joe Flacco, the number 2 seed, upsetting Kiko Alonso, the 1 seed, and advancing. Basketball today, and we're gonna paint with a little bit of a wider brush here. We're just going with the basketball region, not necessarily NBA. Are you ready for this week's region as we talk basketball with you, PJ Glasser?
I've been waiting all week, fellas. Let's do it.
All right, we're going to start today with the 4-5 matchup. I'm going to save the 1-8 for last. The 4-5 matchup, 2 current players in the NBA. The 4 seed, Bam Adebayo versus number 5, one of our favorites here in the sports bar, Dante DiVincenzo.
Wow, 5 seed for DiVincenzo, guys. This must be a good bracket that we have. Bam Adebayo is also a good one, but we got to go with Dante. That's a guy we've talked about on the show before. He's moving on.
The 3-6 has Giannis Antetokounmpo versus the 6 seed, Carmelo.
Ooh. Carmelo against Antetokounmpo. That's a tongue twister to say, guys, especially in the Baltimore accent. We got to go with Carmelo.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Got to. You know, I want to be a fan favorite to the listeners. We got the Qs playing tonight. Let's rock with the plus.
We got to have to.
He's a Baltimore guy,
yes,
right?
He is.
So,
yes, he is.
Carmelo, he gets the nod.
We have to check in with Giannis in his post-game press conference to ask if this is a failure.
This is not the failure.
It's not the failure.
Yeah.
It's a step towards greatness. All right, the 2-7 seed. And this is where we paint a little bit of a broader brush. We've got a couple of coaches here, a couple of basketball coaches for you to consider. The 2 seed, Rick Pitino, versus the 7 seed, Jim Valvano.
Oh, man. You know what? My favorite 30 for 30 is the Jimmy V, the Survive and Advance. Great coach. And we already gave the nod to a Syracuse guy, so we'll go with an NC State guy. Give me Jim Valvano. Moving on.
Wow.
This is a very, very entertaining region. All right, I've been waiting to give you the number 1 seed to go against the 8 seed, and man, this one is an all-timer. He's an all-time great. The 1 seed in the basketball region, Dikembe Mutombo versus the 8 seed in Rebecca Lobo.
Wow, really good one for both of them. I'm going to give the one to the nod seed, Dikembe, and every time I'm saying it, I'm going to wave the finger as well, guys. Dikembe Mutombo. Moving on.
Very good.
That's a good one.
All right, so that would mean we've got the 5 seed DiVincenzo against Carmelo, the 6 seed.
Oof. Guys, this is tough. I think that the accent is always better with a last name guy, so for that reason, I'm going to give it to Dante. I have DiVincenzo moving on.
Wow, DiVincenzo in the final round. All right, that leaves us with Jimmy V, Jim Valvano, versus Dikembe Mutombo.
You know, back in 1983, guys, Jimmy V's NC State team would survive and advance to the next round, but tonight they're going home. We got Dikembe Mutombo moving on against DiVincenzo.
Who's your champion of the region? Who do you got?
Guys, this is tough, man. I mean, it's our guy. It's our go-to. When I think Baltimore accent and I think basketball player, I think of this guy. So he's going to be my winner. Dante.
Whoa! Whoa! Nobody saw that coming.
Yes, it's going to be the next year, baby.
Out of nowhere.
Wow.
Dante DiVincenzo upsetting Dikembe Mutombo?
I mean, guys, you can't go all chalk in the tournament. You got to have some upsets.
That is
Dante. He had the quad 1 win. He had the resume, and he gets the nod. We're giving it to DiVincenzo.
My heart just skipped a beat. I can't believe that just happened. Holy! Well, PJ, this final region next week is going to set up for one hell of a Final Four in the Baltimore accent bracket. I can't wait to continue the journey next week.
So good. So we got Flacco, we got DiVincenzo, and we got Placido Polanco. Guys, that is a hell of a Final Four, I got to tell you.
We're getting there.
Far.
We are getting there. It'll be epic. Yes, we're looking forward to it.
Wow, that is PJ. You are the guy we follow for college basketball. And before we get to some of your picks tonight, I'm already thinking ahead here to those brackets here, and you had a great take earlier this week. As far as you're seeing all these schools kind of punch their ticket, right? And we're looking for the next Florida Atlantic. Nobody had Florida Atlantic last year making it to the Final Four. But who do you think might be one of those teams that right now has the automatic bid that we should keep an eye on?
For me, guys, it's James Madison. They punched their ticket a couple days ago, winning the Sun Belt Championship. You bring up FAU, Chino. They were 31-3 last year, guys, heading into the NCAA tournament. JMU is 31-3 heading into the NCAA tournament. If you win 30 games in college basketball, you got a really good team. This team won at Michigan State at the beginning of the year, which to beat a Tom Izzo team is a mid-major, right? To be that physical, that tells me a lot. So JMU's really good. They got the Sun Belt Player of the Year. They're really good on offense. They're good on defense. That is a 10-11 seed that I would not want to see in my region.
PJ, there's a matchup tonight that when I look at it, I'm like, it's one of those lines where you kind of rub your eyes a little bit and you're asking yourself, am I seeing this right? And what is Vegas doing here? Kansas is getting plus money right now in the money line against Cincinnati, and I know the public is going to back Kansas. Is that the play? Is Cincinnati the play here in this matchup in the Big 12?
It's an interesting game. You laid it out beautifully, Danger. For me, the thing that I think weighs the most value, even though most people are going to see, like you said, a ranked Kansas team, they're the higher seed in the Big 12 tournament, and they're underdogs, and a lot of people are going to take them with the plus money. They're missing their two best players in Kevin McCullough and Hunter Dickinson. And a lot of times, guys, in basketball, when teams are without their star players, the line gets too much. There's too much value on that side, and they tend to play better. So I like Kansas tonight in that spot. Remember we had that Boston-Cleveland game the other night where the Cavs were without Donovan Mitchell, out a ton of guys, and they beat Boston outright. You see this stuff happen all the time in the NBA, college basketball. So it's a weird game because it is involving a team like Kansas, and they're such a public team to begin with. But I do like the Jayhawks tonight. I think they get the win.
Yeah, we're talking to PJ Glasser, who is in D.C. For the ACC tournament right now. Wake Forest is up on Notre Dame by 9, 40-31, with 2 minutes remaining in the first. The action tonight. Now, of course, we can't bet on Syracuse, PJ, but I would be remiss if I didn't get your thoughts. The Orange giving a 1.5 to a team they've beaten twice already this season, NC State. So we've got that game, and then we got Boston College Clemson. I think we've all think that Clemson is the better team, right? But do you feel comfortable enough laying the 7.5, and then just kind of Clemson in general? I mean, because I've watched them now a few times, I'm thinking, could that be a team that right now actually has an NCAA run in them, or is that just kind of bias that I've seen them here a few times clean up against the Orange?
No question, Gene. Clemson's a team that not enough people are talking about. They had a really good non-conference season, beat TCU, beat Bama and Tuscaloosa, had some really good wins. They're one of the oldest teams in college basketball. I like their backcourt with Hunter and Girard. They got a first-team All-ACC player in P.J. Hall. They got a good squad, guys. That's going to be a 5 or 6 seed that could be dangerous. As for the game tonight, I would probably lay the 7.5 with them. If you're looking for a team outside of Duke or Carolina that would win the ACC, I don't think it's going to happen. I think one of those teams are going to win it. But if there was, I would pick Clemson. And then for the Cuse-NC State game tonight, it feels like a good game to live bet for me, guys. I think anytime when you're getting any of these games that are coin flips, that, the spread's 1, 1.5, 2, and they're elimination games and the season's on the line and you have to win if you want to make it to the tournament, I would just look to bet it live, right? Probably there's a good chance one of those teams is going to be up double digits at some point, and you could bet the other side. So that's the way I would bet that game.
Watch a lot of Big East basketball with envy, knowing that Syracuse was once a part of this conference that kind of fell apart and now has kind of risen from the ashes like a phoenix. And this Xavier Butler game tips off here in a little bit, PJ. I don't know if you have a specific lean on this, but I just find the Big East to be fascinating. And even a matchup like Xavier Butler is getting my attention. If you're somebody like me who knows that this tips off in 20 minutes, is there any last-minute advice you would give? Do you have any insight on Xavier Butler?
No, nothing for me in this game. Xavier, guys, obviously had a great year last year. Sean Miller and the Musketeers had to replace a lot of production. They're probably not going to make the NCAA tournament. I think they were going to have to win the Big East for them to win it. Butler has kind of had an up and down year. They've been on the bubble for a little bit, but they're kind of in the same spot as Xavier. Nothing for me in that game. There is a game I do like in the Big East, though, tonight, guys, and that's Georgetown. It's a narrative play for me, right? Providence is on the bubble. They're probably going to have to win a couple games to make it to the NCAA tournament. They're going up against their former coach in Ed Cooley. I mean, this is why we love sports, right? Like, who better to knock out Providence in the NCAA tournament than their former coach in Ed Cooley? So I'll take the Hoyas with the plus 9.5 tonight. That game tips off at 6:30, but nothing in Butler Xavier for me.
Let me just slide this in selfishly. Fordham is up on VCU. Danger 54-50. We're in uncharted territory
the
here.
Rams.
Yeah, baby.
Very good.
PJ, is there anything else college basketball-wise tonight, maybe tomorrow, that you have your eyes on here?
Yeah, guys, I like Arizona State tonight, plus 5.5 against Utah. They've beaten them both times that they've played them in the regular season, and they're 5.5-point dogs tonight. Sun Devils would be a team that maybe could be worth a sprinkle to win the Pac-12. They're 150-1. We know it's the final year of the Pac-12 tournament. I just think something crazy is going to happen. I think one of these underdogs that we don't expect coming are going to just wreck chaos in this tournament. And I look at Arizona State beating Utah twice. If they win that game, they would get Colorado, who they've beaten this season, then a potential matchup with Wazoo, who they've already beaten. just the way their path draws out, I think they could be worth a long shot look, and I think they're worth a play tonight on the spread and on the money line as well.
Anything in the NBA that strikes your fancy tonight, PJ?
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox guy's over points. I like him tonight. He's playing the Lakers. You know, there are certain players against certain teams who just always play well. Whenever Fox goes up against the Lakers, he always plays well. Had 44 last time he went up against LA. So De'Aaron Fox over 28.5 points tonight. I like that play.
In that same game, if I may, a little plug here for FanDuel, who's offering a little boost for LeBron and Anthony Davis to combine for 50-plus points. PJ, are you buying in on that?
I do like that. Yeah, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Again, usually when the Kings play the Lakers, Fox plays well. Sacramento's offense usually scores. I think we get an offensive game tonight. So with the boost, absolutely. Yeah, I like that play.
PJ, love the work there, and go catch the end of the first half there tonight, and be wearing some orange for us tonight, will you?
We'll do, guys. Yeah, let's go Q's. Hopefully they pull out the victory, and they're playing again tomorrow night.
Appreciate the time as always, PJ. Enjoy the ACC, and thanks for the time.
Always, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, PJ Glasser is the host of BetQL. Send it in on the BetQL network. You can hear it in the free-to-download Odyssey app on YouTube and Twitch as well, or Odyssey Sports Betting Insider. Insider calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app. I got to tell you, I didn't see DiVincenzo pulling that one off.
We were going over this. I told you he would go for Carmelo.
Carmelo
I knew that was going to be a good one as a six. So.
We positioned it as just Carmelo. Carmelo Anthony doesn't fit the standard criteria of what we look for when we want somebody from Baltimore to say a name. But Carmelo alone fits. It works.
Well, I think he's in that echelon. Like, he owns the name. You don't have to. It's not Carmelo Jones.
You're right.
Like, you say Carmelo, you know
everybody
who
knows.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's a Baltimore guy, so we had to do that for PJ. But, man, I thought Mutombo was a lock. I thought Dikembe Mutombo was a lock.
That's a generation thing, dude. I think that's it. Like,
maybe. But he knew. He's waving the finger as he was saying Mutombo over Lobo. DiVincenzo advancing to the Final Four.
So what is the final bracket going to consist of?
You know what I think? I think it's a catch-all. I think we go with maybe like one of the world's greatest soccer players of all time, Cristiano Ronaldo. Hell, while we're talking about soccer, why don't we include Rochester radio legend Joe Capagreco? Yeah, I think it's a catch-all. We'll find some all-timers, and we'll just hit them with the rest of the rest. Maybe there's a hockey player in there. I'm not sure who off the top of my head, but we'll find somebody.
We're open to suggestions there at the Fan Rochester. Our handle on that. Wake is leading Notre Dame 40-34 at the half.
Okay. The ACC tournament going on, and PJ joining us from the ACC tournament. Appreciate him cutting away from the action there to join us here in the sports bar. He's the best. We love having him on with us every Wednesday at this time. I'll Drink to That is next in the sports bar. We've got some takes on tap.
This is one of those. It's a baseball story that's going to affect this team, but when I tell you this is just so unsavory. It's gonna. I'm throwing this disclaimer.
I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't heard anything about this.
Aroldis Chapman hasn't come across your feed.
Not once.
I've never seen anything like this.
I mean, I was saying the same thing when they unveiled the baseball uniforms at the beginning of spring training. I don't need to see anything like this. So that is enough outrage for one baseball season for me. But this goes beyond that.
Yeah. If you think the hiring practices of the NFL, by the way, they're terrible. And I'm not just talking about the Rooney Rule here. I mean, it's just like, just take an example. What's happening right now?
The cronyism. It's not what you know. It's who you know. Yeah, of course. We'll have some takes on tap, and we'll share those with you at 866-4FAN if you want to pull up a stool, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan. Sports. You've come to the right place. 95.7 FM, The Fan. Rochester.
Takes on tap in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia.
There's a lot of headlines. This is the one that I think is a headline you don't hear every day, right? This is from NJ.com. Yankees quitter Aroldis Chapman posts revulsive groping video on social media. Yeah, this stuff is going to be coming across your feed, especially if you're a baseball fan. Now, if you got kids in the car, I'm giving you the warning in advance, okay? This isn't our show, but this kind of morphs over into sports. So,
I always love when we talk about stuff that force people to not listen to what we have to say.
Right, or just kind of tune it down. 3, 2, 1, here we go. Chapman posted it himself, cuddling with an older woman, like really older, like in her 70s older, and he's playing honk honk. If that's not weird enough, we find out that it's his mother.
Huh?
Look, Aroldis Chapman on the field, he had the nastiest stuff in Cincinnati. Good for the Yankees for a little while. The Cubs World Series team didn't have much to do with it, but he's a world champion. And this is the legacy you're going to be leaving behind, you weirdo. Oh, by the way, he's still in the majors. Sort of. He's with the Pirates. I mean, how is he received in that locker room when anybody sees this video?
Well, just always. First, I have many questions. I mean, just with the baseline of, I've always viewed Chapman as a bad guy. I just think, bad guy. You know, yes, I'll always remember him as part of that championship Cubs team and the nastiest, filthiest, fastest stuff that you would want out of your closer, but at the same time, hard guy to root for because you know he's just a bad guy. Other question I have is, what corner of the internet are you on that you're seeing this and I'm not? I mean, Gino.
Dude, this is on TMZ. This is like everywhere. This is not hidden. This is kind of breaking this afternoon.
And my next question is, how much is the monthly subscription for Only Grands? Is he signing up his mom for the geriatric OnlyFans website? I don't know what this is.
Set aside that it's his mom. Like, the thing is disturbing anyways. Why would you feel the need to post? Again, ask yourself, is this a good idea to post? No. But the behavior itself, like, baseball is doing a better job. Does this kind of cross the line here?
I mean, I didn't get an answer. Is it $32.99 a month for Only Grands? I've seen enough from baseball already. I'm outraged by the uniforms. I didn't need to see Franks and Beans earlier during spring training, and now you're telling me that this exists? I don't need to see it.
We're off to a great start. So we have the uniform debacle, and we have Aroldis Chapman doing something you would never, ever want to see online.
I have a take, non-sports take. I had lunch today with a friend. We went to our usual spot to grab a sandwich, grab some subs.
Time out. I know when Danger is out for lunch because he has this thing with his keys. When he's in his office, I know he's in his office because you leave the keys in the door.
Well, one time I got burned. One time I locked myself out of my office. I was here after hours, and my door got closed by the cleaning crew. My keys were left in the office, and there was nobody here to let me in the office to get my keys. So now, just out of habit, I just leave my keys in the keyhole of my office door.
I bet I could card your door.
I couldn't, so I don't know that you could. I tried.
Okay.
But yes, I did have lunch today with a friend. We went to our usual spot. We grab a sub. The year of our Lord 2024. The technology has to exist that when you walk, and I'm glad you said that you knew I was out to lunch because my keys weren't there, because if you were to say, I knew you went out to lunch because you smell like the sub shop that you had lunch at. There has to be something that exists that prevents people from, when they spend more than 30 seconds inside a sub shop, you don't leave smelling like the sub shop. All I smell right now, it's not horrific. I feel like I'm offending people because I smell like a sub because of the sub shop that I sat down with my buddy at to have lunch at today.
Where's the ventilation? Like, that's
terrible. I know, but like, it feels like every time you walk into a sub shop, and I'm not going to name names and I'm not going to single anybody out. all good products. I just wish that we could stay there for more than 30 seconds without leaving smelling like all of the remnants of the sub, whether you're talking about it's a combination. It's the bread, it's the toppings, it's everything that the toaster oven or the griddle or whatever it is. It's like, oh boy, you can tell. I went out to lunch today. There's no hiding it. It's not like I was boozing at lunch. It's a different kind of odor. I'm leaving a vapor trail behind me, and it smells like a sub shop. We got to fix that.
And that's why I'm standing over here.
You gave yourself up. You could have said that to me, and I've been like, I'm busted. I smell like a sub, and there's nothing you can say or do that's going to change that. But yeah, my keys, I do leave them in the keyhole so I don't lock myself out of my office.
We will go over all the NFL signings today. And yes, there is more news today we'll get to. But here's one. Little Dirty's back in the NFL.
Sure is.
Yeah, now we don't know why he was let go from the Colts unceremoniously, but it doesn't matter now. Isaiah McKenzie, where did he go? With the Giants. Of course he is. See, it's not just a Buffalo Bills thing. Every NFL team goes to its comfort zone, its warm places where you fish. This sport is poisoned by the who-you-know hiring practices. It really is a joke. It's comical. Like, when do the Seahawks and Leslie Frazier bring in Tyrell Dodson?
Sure.
Can't wait to see Shaq Lawson getting one last chance with the Bears and Eric Washington.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's absolutely right. We joked for so long about that pipeline from Carolina to Buffalo when Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott came here, and it was so clearly obvious that they just had connections with these guys, and they were bringing everybody that they could, that they knew of, that they had an experience with, and it doesn't change. It's almost like a path of least resistance. It's the devil that you know versus the devil that you don't. Brian Daboll and Joe Shane, names that he's familiar with, and names that a player that they know from his time in Buffalo, then that will be that. That's better than somebody that you don't know that might be more skilled or more expensive. And I think that has something to do with it as well.
Well, and then Dane Jackson going to Carolina. Well, where's the connection there? Their GM, Dan Morgan, worked in Buffalo. He was part of the team that drafted him in 2020.
That's right. Love that player. Yeah. Oh, love that guy.
That's my guy.
That's my guy. Yeah, bring him in. What do we got to pay him? 12? What did they say? 12? 14?
14 and a half.
14
but we don't
and a
have
half? Up to 14 and a half for 2 years? 2 years?
For a backup corner. So there's not a corner where you say, ooh, that guy should be starting somewhere. No, he's a depth piece.
He's Levi Wallace.
Yeah, he's a 7th rounder.
He's Levi Wallace.
Yeah, good career for a 7th rounder.
No, and hey, good for him for getting that money. Get that bag, dude. Congratulations. We'll bring Alex Brasky of Build's Digest and the Batavia Daily News in here in about 25 minutes or so. We've got a wide open segment for you next at 866-4FAN. If you want to join us, pull up a stool. 866-4326. We'll recap all of today's news as we are 2 minutes away from New Year. The NFL league year gets underway at 4 o'clock.
Should we be playing Old Lang Syne right now?
We'll be counting it down here. We'll let you know all of the moves and transactions pertaining to the Buffalo Bills and elsewhere throughout the NFL next on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
More free agent movement today for the Buffalo Bills. Mac Hollins coming in on a one-year deal. Chris Brown today on One Bills Live with more.
Hollins, who played last season for Atlanta, 31 years old, had 18 receptions last season. He was buried on the depth chart in Atlanta on the offensive side of the ball, but he also is a core special teams player. He brings some much-needed size to the receiving core at 6'4", 221 pounds, but a big, tall, rangy guy.
Following Jordan Poyer to the Miami Dolphins, Saran Neal going to Miami. Dane Jackson goes to Carolina. 2 years up to $14.5 million. The Amerks are down the throughway at Syracuse tonight. Syracuse basketball in action tonight. It's round 2 of the ACC tournament. The Orange to face NC State at 7. Currently, Wake Forest is up on Notre Dame, 44-36 in the second half. Gene Battaglin, the sports leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The NFL's new league year begins today, which means all these signings and trades you've been hearing about since Monday can become official.
Mac Hollins, wide receiver.
I think it is low-key perfect.
Bills also reportedly agreed to terms with Eagles free agent linebacker Nicholas Morrow.
We've won the offseason, Gene, with that move.
I trust Brandon.
Picked off! Intercepted by Jordan Poyer in the end zone. He picked it off!
Mike Danger.
I feel like we've kind of telegraphed every move that Brandon Beane has made, which may not be a good thing, because if we can do it, then the rest of the league kind of knows what your priorities are and what you're doing. Is Beane settling, or is he actually trying to work that comp pick formula to his advantage here for 2025?
Gene Battaglia.
No, I think that the expectation is the Bills are going to wait and see what's available here maybe next week, maybe a month from now.
7-3, Sabres beat the Red Wings.
The fraudulent Detroit Red Wings.
Amerks Crunch. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
All right, welcome back into the Sports Bar. We appreciate you stopping by for excellent sports talk in the Flower City. 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app. You can watch the stream at the Fan Rochester YouTube channel. Also on Twitch at the Fan Rochester. Our phone number is 866-4326. I want to bring this up because it just crossed my feed. It's from somebody we've had on this show before. It is his actual, I believe it is his actual account. I don't see the blue check, but I do see and recognize Mike Duraco, who covers the Jacksonville Jaguars for ESPN and his 33,500 followers. He putting out something just 2 minutes ago that the Jags are going to be sending a third-round pick to the Atlanta Falcons in order to complete the Calvin Ridley trade. Is that from last season? I don't understand.
I don't get it. I saw this and I'm like, wait a second. I don't get the context of this. Now remember,
because Ridley's a free agent,
correct? And Atlanta, I didn't know you could delay, like in baseball happens all the time, player to future considerations. I don't understand the context of this.
Was this a future consideration for the Jags getting Calvin Ridley after he was suspended by the league?
Yeah, Danger, I'd like to learn more about that, because Calvin Ridley, as soon as you see something like that, apparently it's down to two teams, him coming back to Jacksonville, and also New England is in on this.
Is the one I keep hearing,
Yeah, and so where is he going to go? Does that mean that if he resigns with Jacksonville, that the Jags owe Atlanta a third-round pick? I'm sure my feed right now, I don't know about yours, it's all the stuff we already knew. Like, every team is making it official. The Eagles have signed Saquon Barkley. Did you know that? I had no idea.
Yeah, because now they can make legal tampering is over, folks. Happy New Year! It is a new NFL league year. As of 8 minutes ago, and all of the teams are making all of the moves official. So, that's really what legal tampering is all about. It's just giving the social media teams a couple of days to work up some graphics and schedule some updates and make sure that at 4 o'clock, the start of the league year, everything is flush and everything goes out.
The tweet of the afternoon goes to our buddy RJ Ochoa down in San Antonio. He covers he covers the Cowboys. We've had him on the show a bunch of times. Ian Rappaport just putting out the tweet 4 o'clock. Hey, welcome to the new year. Free agency officially beginning. RJ, the Cowboys took this literally.
They're the only team that didn't add a piece, at least a piece, during legal tampering.
For an owner that called this shot.
For an owner that said, we're all in.
Yeah.
We're all in. Yeah. Sure. Well, we'll see, Cowboy fan. Maybe you do swing for a big name here at some point. Or not. And you're also seeing a lot of the goodbye notes from players leaving teams. Joe Mixon crafting a lengthy goodbye to the city of Cincinnati after his trade to Houston is official. So we'll get you caught up on all of the news of the last 24 hours here as the new league year gets underway. What we can tell you is Alex Brasky joins us here in about 15 minutes. Mac Hollins, the wide receiver, was in Atlanta last year. Will be joining the Bills on a deal this season. 1 year, $3 million, Gino? Is that what they're reporting?
Yeah, so whenever I hear 1 year deal, that means, hey, if he doesn't really show up in camp, you better kind of ball out. So is this incentive laden? Is there right? And if Brandon Beane is smart, according to Chris DePasso, if you keep it below 1.69, don't say that. I know where your mind is going.
No, it's a nice salary to make for a season of football.
That, for some reason, is where the bar is set as far as a base and the compensatory formula about what you bring in. Trapasso's reporting, assuming that these two picks, Hollins being yesterday, the linebacker from Philadelphia.
Hollins today. Yesterday was...
Oh, Mac Hollins, correct.
Yes. Yep. Hollins today. Who's the linebacker yesterday? Because I love him. I think he's great. He's going to be
great.
He's a great.
He is he's so great. I forgot his name.
We're going to have to remember. He's new AJ Klein.
New AJ coming to the Buffalo Bills. So great. He's so versatile, Danger.
He can do it all. He can do it all, and he's not going to cost you a lot. And he started some games. He's got some experience.
Morrow.
That's the guy. Nicholas Morrow. Love that player.
Hollins, Morrow.
Great players. These are the.
I love these signings.
We're looking at the flow chart. And there's only two outcomes. You either love the new player that was signed to your team, or you see the player that has left your team signed for too much money with another team, and you have to poo-poo. You have to look at a guy like Jordan Poyer now. I mean, look, Jordan Poyer is a warrior. We love Jordan Poyer, and you can't do anything but wish him well as he signs a 1 year deal with a division rival. And it makes sense. He's down there. Like, that's his home right now. That's Miami is what he calls home.
That was a speculation when he was a free agent before, right? That he would go down there. And then it was last year. And, you would think, oh, he's going to – wait, the Bills brought him back.
But my favorite is because – we're part of this. We're in this echo chamber where everything is, when you're talking about the Bills, everything has to follow a narrative. And, now that he's no longer with us, some people might question whether or not Jordan Poyer is actually worthy of a starting role with an NFL team. I don't know, Gene. Is Jordan Poyer still a starter in the NFL? Well, he was a starter just as recently as a couple of months ago for the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, I have a feeling he's probably going to be a starter in Miami. Look, I didn't know that he was a starter last year, but nobody was being critical of him last year when he looked very much like he had lost a step.
Listen, the Dolphins secondary, although it's up there in age, Howard's back, Ramsey's back, Collins are free. Jordan Poyer right now is listed as the starter.
Look at his stats from last year. 100 tackles. He did get a sack. He had a forced fumble, 4 pass breakups to play in the postseason. The Mecole Hardman, saved the game with that strip of...
Well, if he doesn't do that, for that reason alone, Sean McDermott would be like, okay, I need you back next year because you covered my butt there. The blame assessment, some people put it on the kicker, some people put it on
was
Josh.
That play, the fake punt.
The fake punt was all we would have been talking about had the Chiefs gone up by 2 touchdowns at that point.
You saved the coaching staff from thinking that was a good idea. It is funny how our views get skewed when the player leaves your team or when you bring in an outsider to join your team. So, and by the way, Poyer won't be alone in Miami. Saran Neal also signing a 1-year deal with the Dolphins. And I think you mentioned this in your update, Dane Jackson, Bills corner, former Bills corner now, in Carolina. And Jackson got something.
Well, like we like the joke, oh, we can't bring him back at that money. We're not joking, right? Like, that's crazy. Even if it's incentive laden, the fact that you can make up to 14.5.
Good for Dane Jackson.
Great for him.
Don't know what Carolina's doing. No idea what Carolina's doing.
Somebody take our money here?
No idea what Carolina's doing. It's just a complete mess with the Panthers. That feels ridiculous. But good for Dane Jackson. Good for Jordan Poyer. You know, we can be Jordan Poyer fans every week except for 2 next season, because that guy's going to eventually end up on the Wall of Fame, and he's a part of what they've rebuilt here in Buffalo.
Yeah, I hate the way this, it would have been nice for Poyer and Hyde to kind of walk out together. Still waiting on what Micah Hyde is, going to do here too.
Yeah. Well, very Thurman-like of Jordan Poyer to sign that 1-year deal and likely play his last season.
Also, too, like if Hyde decides this is my time, I hope the Bills do the right thing. Number one, give him an afternoon where he gets up in front of everybody and that just be celebrated. Number two, let everybody back. Even if he does play for the Miami Dolphins now, let him back in the facility that one day.
We saw a move here from the Chargers, who needed to get cap compliant before 4 o'clock. That would be Mike Williams being released, which freed up $20 million in cap space. They also restructured Khalil Mack's contract in LA. Williams coming off a torn ACL that he suffered early last season. All teams obviously needed to get below the cap by 4 o'clock. The Chargers were one of the last holdouts there. In the AFC West as well. More cap space for the Raiders, who now will save an additional $19 million just by releasing Jimmy Garoppolo today and wide receiver Hunter Renfrow.
The Giants today, one guy coming in and one guy going out. We know both of these players, and they're both Bills connected here. Isaiah McKenzie is joining Brian Dable. Now, McKenzie last year was released, so that's not going to count against the Giants' compensatory formula. He was kicked to the curb for some unknown reason, unceremoniously. But as part of this, there's multiple reports that the Giants are actually moving on from former Bills wide receiver Isaiah Hodgins.
Interesting.
Did you bring him back in for a look-see?
Wow.
Because that's the one move, like, oh, you let him get away with the practice squad.
You felt like you let him get away over what? He had, 3-4 good games?
When he burst onto the scene with the Giants, yes, he paid dividends right away. Kind of hard to get a read on anything with the Giants last year, though. Yeah. Is that fair to say? Also, too, like, we missed an obvious punchline yesterday. Just so much was happening here. So the Giants, what are they doing here at quarterback? Well, I think they're still going to draft one, Danger. You, not so much. You certainly have Daniel Jones, regardless.
Yeah. They brought in Drew Lock, I saw from Seattle yesterday, right?
Why would you do that?
You know what? You're right.
Why? What a waste of money and time.
You
already have.
Yeah. You don't need Drew Lock. You got Tommy Cutlets. You don't need Drew Lock. You got Tommy DeVito as a backup because he's Italian. Gino. What are they doing, Drew Lock? Drew Lock. Tommy DeVito. He's Italian.
Can you imagine if somehow Tommy DeVito, who might become a free agent, we're not sure, ends up as the Bills' third quarterback, and like he's here in Rochester in our town? Where would we see Tommy DeVito on the west side?
Well, I'm gonna go up to Buffalo and I'm gonna go get some hot wings and blue cheese, and then after that, I'm gonna take my kids to the Bills game.
Hey, cuz, let's go watch Tommy Cutlets at the Bills game, cuz he's Italian.
By the way, next Thursday we'll be at the tap room at Bill Gray's in Chi-Li. Yeah, $9.99 great plates. Come and chow down with Danger and I the opening day of the tournament.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to go down there to Bill Gray's, cuz, and I'm going to get a great plate for just $9.99.
9 times.
It hurts doing that. Yeah, that's not a joke, by the way. For the opening day of the tournament, we will be live. Bill Gray's, Chi-Li Avenue, the tap room at Bill Gray's Chi-Li Avenue location. The sports bar live from 3 to 6. We expect to see our regulars. We always appreciate when you come out. have a good time with us here, and it's one of the best days on the sports calendar.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
And as I mentioned, yes, those great plates on Thursdays at Bill Gray's, just $9.99. We will be there live 3 to 6 a week from tomorrow for the start of the tournament. And again, what better place to be than the tap room at Bill Gray's there in Chila?
I'm happy we're back out for the tournament. So thank you to Bill Gray's for bringing us in.
No question. That's going to be a lot of fun, and we hope we get the chance to see you out there too. And by the way, when we're talking about Bill Gray's great plates, I want some Italian. Next time you get together with some of your Italian friends, maybe it's just me because of my neighborhood, and I've talked about my neighborhood before. There's Tony, there's Nikki G, there's Tony, there's Rob the Takesman, Rick GC, there's Tony, there's Mike, there's Nikki B, there's Nikki Eye Drops, there's Tony.
There's Nikki Signs.
There's Tony. There's a when I get around my neighbors, my friends, inevitably the conversation will be steered to who has the best this, who has the best that.
Oh, yeah? Well, I had pizza from this place. That slice was awesome. What are you on crack? That's not a good slice. No.
And Gino, this is a Rochester thing. I know it's a Rochester thing. A friend of mine, my daughter is a freshman at Mercy, and they do an annual event called the Meat Raffle. And they had their meat raffle over the weekend. And everybody hears meat raffle. I'm like, what the hell is a meat raffle? Well, it's a raffle for meat. That's kind of self-explanatory. But a friend sent me a video, and inadvertently in the video, he caught somebody on camera having a conversation, just talking randomly about who has good wings.
Oh, yeah? Well, let me tell you about Jeremiah's. The wings of that. No, I like Bill Gray's. Oh, no.
Just it's such a Rochester thing.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to go up to Buffalo, and I'm going to go get some hot wings and blue cheese. And then after that, I'm going to take my kids to the Bills game.
We should have a celebrity table for Danger's Neighborhood. That should be it. Because you start talking to them, they all have takes. They all have opinions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah? Well, I like Anchor Bar there in Buffalo. Oh, you like Anchor Bar? You're on crack. No, you're on crack.
It's every time. Maybe you can overhear some of that conversation happening at the tap room at Bill Gray's Chila Ave location coming up a week from tomorrow to start the NCAA tournament.
All right, so the Bills have just posted, and I'll have to watch this later, a tribute video to Tre'Davious White.
Well, I guess that makes everything better.
I guess rather than wait, whenever it is.
Well, we had to cut him last Wednesday. We needed time to put together the tribute video to post at the start of the league year. Can we just get a little time? Brandon, can you do the deed on Wednesday so we have enough time to splice together a fitting tribute video for Trey White? He means a lot. He's meant a lot. It sucks. It's a cruel business. I'm sure Trey White's not happy about it, but so goes the NFL. And by the way, if you see Christian Benford or Rasul Douglas playing at a high level next year, you're going to forget about Trey White really quickly. If Kyer Elam has a resurgence, you're going to forget about Trey White pretty quickly.
Trey White, the team that signs him, it's a flyer.
Trey White was on the field the last 2 seasons for the Buffalo Bills. Largely, you did what you had to do from a business. No, more people were surprised about Mitch Morse than they were about Trey White.
No doubt.
And we were wondering about Trey White, I think more so than a lot of people were, because of that number. And sure enough, it was a good run, and we know how much he meant to the organization and how much he meant to that coaching staff and to that locker room. He'll be missed. And I don't know, man. I don't know what version of Trey White we'll see moving forward. If we see anything near the version of Trey White that we saw at his peak in Buffalo, I think those days are gone. Alex Brasky of the Bills Digest of Batavia Daily News stops by the sports bar next. We'll talk more Buffalo Bills on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Update.
More free agent movement today surrounding the Buffalo Bills. Mac Hollins is a wide receiver, last with Atlanta, also played with the Eagles, Raiders, and also the Dolphins. He comes in on a one-year deal. Following Jordan Poyer to Miami is Saran Neal. Safety Cam Lewis, he's coming back. He's excited about perhaps taking a bigger role.
Like I said, I've always been preparing to be a starter, like since day one. So I don't think my mindset or confidence changed. It's just making the most out of this opportunity that's ahead of me. So just going out here and just compete.
Also, Dane Jackson going to Carolina, 2 years, up to $14.5 million. We'll talk to Alex Brasky, Batavia Daily News, and the Bills Digest coming up next here in the Sports Bar. Ameryk's down the thruway at Syracuse tonight. Our coverage begins at 7. Syracuse basketball taking on NC State in the ACC tournament. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
We talk some Buffalo Bills with Alex Brasky of Bills Digest and the Batavia Daily News. Alex, great having you on with us. As always, appreciate your time, buddy. And it's been a while since we've had you on. Certainly haven't had you on since the Red Wedding last Wednesday, a week ago, when the Buffalo Bills kind of went through a transformational bloodletting of getting rid of a lot of familiar names and veteran leadership. They now enter the new league year flush with cap space and adding some lesser known names to the, I'm looking at Nick Morrow, to the roster. Give us your take on this offseason up to this point so far for the Bills and for Brandon Beane.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Love the Rochester accents. Gene asked me if I had one. I'm not sure if I really have one, but we do have a place in Batavia called the Polka Dot.
You have one, Alex Brasky. I can hear it right in your voice.
Coach,
you sound like you're from Western New York.
Let me tell you, Coach Brasky, that's a well-known name in Batavia. Don't BS us, Alex.
Oh, yeah, you're from Batavia? I like Batavia. It's right there between Buffalo and Rochester.
You guys got me rolling. But as far as my take on the Bills, the first move was they sent the offensive lineman Ryan Bates to Chicago, and it really all started from there. And you lose the leadership of Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Mitch Morse, obviously Gabe Davis signs elsewhere. So it's really been a changing of the guard. It's kind of been a slow go in terms of signing free agents, but there has been a lot of movement on the Bills side and a lot of changes to be made. Times they are a-changing, my friends.
Yeah, I mean, Alex, I knew the Bills are going to have some changes at safety, particularly with Micah Hyde. We still don't know, actually, technically, if he's retiring or if he's going to try to latch on somewhere. But the Jordan Poyer move, not really a surprise. In fact, where he went, not really a surprise. My question is, are these really going to be the starters come opening day? Or like what you saw last year, should Bills fans be comfortable with the tandem here, perhaps, that the Bills have put forward, that bringing back here the safety that was with the Rams last year, also Cam Lewis?
Yeah, Taylor Rapp, I think, did enough last year where he inspires a bit of confidence that he can come in, second year in the system, and really hit the ground running and perhaps do somewhat to replace a Jordan Poyer or a Micah Hyde. I think Cam Lewis a little bit less so. I think he would be more comfortable in a depth kind of role for the Bills defense. So I'm not sure all is said and done there at that position in terms of the safety position. Like you said, we have yet to see what's happening with Micah Hyde. I don't think he'll come back to the Bills, but you never know what will happen in the draft. I believe there's still some high-quality safeties out there on the free agent market. Cameron Curl, I believe, is still out there, although a few of Bills fans' top targets were lost through free agency to other teams. So that was certainly a bummer for some. But, yeah, I don't think all is said and done at that position. I think Taylor Rapp has a leg up in terms of a chance to start, but Cam Lewis, I think, more suited for a depth role.
Let's talk a little bit about the defensive line, Alex, because – man, on Monday when legal tampering opened, we were kind of watching things in real time. We knew that Gabe Davis was going to Jacksonville. When we saw Leonard Floyd go to San Francisco, both Gene and I kind of looked at each other and said, you know what, they're going to start signing some of their own. And that's what they did over the course of the next few hours. A.J. Epinesa is back. Daquan Jones is back. So talk a little bit about what they have here now on this defensive line. You reworked Von Miller's deal. You know he's going to be back. You are losing some, but are you looking ahead to next season right now with what they have? Have they set themselves up for an improvement on the defensive line in 2024?
Yeah, much like the safety position, I still think there's some work left to be done on the interior defensive line. You have Ed Oliver, you have Daquan Jones, you have your starters locked up, but you lost so much at the defensive tackle position, that you're going to have to do a lot to replace the depth players that you lost in terms of Tim Settle, Poona Ford. They have yet to be re-signed or signed elsewhere. So there's still going to be some work left to be done in terms of the defensive tackle position, but in terms of edge rusher, I think you might be all set in terms of A.J. Epinesa, Von Miller, opposite of Greg Rousseau. Epinesa seems to be an ascending player, and they got him on a pretty team-friendly deal, a deal worth $12 million, an additional $4 million per season if he hits playtime and sack incentives. That's for 2 seasons. So I think they get him at about $6 million plus per year, kind of on another prove-it deal. Epinesa trying to set himself up for a big payday in a couple of seasons or maybe an extension at the end of this season. I think you're all set perhaps at the edge rusher position, except for maybe some practice squad fill-ins. But the defensive tackle position, I think you really need to fill in and get some depth players at that position.
Yeah, let me pass this on. And I don't know if you spotted this right before we came on, but this is Matt Barrows, who covers the 49ers for The Athletic. He just tweeted this out, and we knew Eric Armstead was not going to be part of the Niners, the team officially announcing the release. This is Barrows reporting. Keep an eye on Buffalo as a possible landing spot. Alex, like that, voila, that would solve the problem if Eric Armstead comes to Buffalo.
Yeah, absolutely. I see your boy Sal Capaccio here with the emojis, so that certainly speaks to some credence there. But, yeah, that would certainly be a prime landing spot for Armstead and Buffalo, and Barrow's a reliable source, so that would certainly be a quick Band-Aid. And I see a GIF underneath with Dexter's Laboratory praying for Brandon Beane. So maybe we'll see some Beane after dark, and maybe some Beane before dark, in signing Eric Armstead, the defensive tackle. That certainly would be a big boost at that position, with Daquan Jones kind of being a little bit unreliable in terms of his injuries over the past couple of years, but we'll see where Armstead goes over over the next few hours or days here.
Alex, when they moved on from Mitch Morse, we all kind of scratched our head and wondered what's next, and it kind of became known that they were going to shift McGovern over to center and plug in David Edwards to be the starting left guard, or you would assume to be the starting left guard here coming up at training camp. How much confidence do we have in this offensive line, knowing that the anchor of that offensive line is now in Jacksonville?
Yeah, I think they inspired plenty of confidence last year. You signed Deion Dawkins to a contract extension, well-deserved. He had himself a fantastic year. And on the opposite side, Spencer Brown really seemed to solidify his position at the right tackle spot, and Osiris Torrance on a great rookie contract at the guard position, and then you kick over McGovern and you slide in Edwards. Moore certainly presented a lot in terms of his leadership, but an aging player, a player that probably would have been a little bit more costly than what you're going with now. So I think what they put on film last year, and Edwards coming in as that jumbo tight end, I think he inspired a bit of confidence. So I think there's positivity to be had and an optimistic outlook in terms of the offensive line. You're not losing a ton. You are losing the centerpiece. But a lot left to be seen with that group. The good thing is you do have your bookends back in Spencer Brown and Deion Dawkins, both of whom had fantastic seasons last year, along with McGovern and Torrance on the inside.
We're talking to our buddy Alex Bratsky, Batavia Daily News and Bills Digest. One position we really don't talk about as much because, well, it's the game has kind of gone away from the running back position. But Alex, in free agency, I don't know what the heck happened here. It's like the NFL GMs had this cost control thing going on, and all of a sudden, right out the window is all these contracts going for dollars. My question about the Bills here, well, yeah, you have James Cook, but then who else here? Are you bringing back Ty Johnson? Have we seen the last of Latavius Murray? Is there somebody else in the pipeline, or should this be an area with all these draft picks that the Buffalo Bills should make one or maybe more investments in?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to throw a flyer at a running back late in the draft, but I think the answer is Ty Johnson. I think he really came along in the system last year and really impressed the Bills coaching staff and front office and what he had to offer as the season went on. He really seemed to take over as the secondary back behind James Cook later in the season and really did well. Played in 10 games, only 132 yards, but really had some good games and some good plays in limited action. And I think Johnson's still a relatively young player at 26 years old, and his athletic skill set and power behind his game as well. I think he fits exactly what the Bills are looking for in that secondary back behind James Cook, and could even do a good job filling in for Cook if you had to spell him due to injury.
Alex, when we got the news yesterday of the Bills signing linebacker Nicholas Morrow, I think we all kind of viewed it as, all right, well, if you bring in a guy who's got experience as a starter and he's got experience calling in plays as he did last season for, I want to say 12 games at Philadelphia, you're basically bringing in a guy who can be an upgrade over what you had late in the season with a guy like A.J. Klein being thrust into duty. But is there more to that position? Is there more to the Nick Morrow signing? Meaning, is what do we know about Matt Milano and his recovery from that leg injury in London? What do we know about the development of Dorian Williams, who you could see playing in that role but didn't really get a ton of time at linebacker? Is a guy like Morrow more of an insurance policy, being a veteran guy that can come in maybe and learn this system and be a little bit more at linebacker for the Buffalo Bills should Milano not heal or should Williams not progress?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think this is very much an insurance policy for the Bills at linebacker. You don't want to go into the season with Dorian Williams as your third linebacker. He didn't really seem to latch on last year in the defensive system, and going in as a potential replacement for Matt Milano, that certainly wouldn't be an ideal situation. And you saw the Bills have to turn to A.J. Klein last year, certainly not an ideal situation either. And Morrow's a player who's played a lot of football. He started 12 games for the Eagles last season. I believe he was the signal caller by season's end. 28 years old right now, so it's certainly not a player over the hill in terms of what we saw from A.J. Klein last season. So Morrow also a contributor on special teams, kind of an undersized player that struggles a bit in coverage, but a bit better up front. We'll see what he has to offer. Tyrell Dodson's still a free agent, but I don't think you want to go into the season with Dorian Williams as your third linebacker. I think this makes the Bills a little bit more comfortable if Milano is to miss some time. I don't think we know much about his recovery at this point. Mum has kind of been the word on that. I know he did return to the facility toward the end of last season, so we'll see where his progress goes. But I think more of an insurance policy and a depth signing for the Bills.
Yeah, going back to the original note here, Mac Hollins, for anybody just getting in, that is the one signing today. Receiver that's bounced around the league. He, good blocker apparently, as you mentioned. But Alex, I view him at the end of the roster. If there's somebody young that wants to take the spot 1 year, that could certainly be, Hollins would have to earn his spot. So my question is, what is next here for the Buffalo Bills, who are trying to fill in the wide receiver depth chart, knowing that Gabe Davis is out? You have Khalil Shakir, ideally still as your number 3, in my opinion. So do you have a favorite, by the way? I guess I'll start there. From all the guys at the combine there, if the Bills are at 28, any one particular guy that you would say, yeah, you know what, that is somebody I would like to see the Bills take, and he would slot in instantly as the number 2 receiver?
Well, if you're asking me to settle on a singular talent, I would probably look at a Javon Baker, maybe from UCF, someone down the draft pool. I don't think you're going to have any chance at a Malik Neighbors, a Marvin Harrison Jr., nobody like that at the top. I think you're going to have to rely on on somebody a little bit further down, maybe a Xavier Worthy, a Keon Coleman, somebody in that respect, Troy Franklin. I think somebody in that range is what you're looking at for the Bills, maybe top of the second round, late first round. But, yeah, they're certainly going to have to add more at that position. You bring in Mac Hollins. I don't think he's the answer to fill in for Gabe Davis. You looked at his size and his strength, and you thought maybe for a moment, and obviously his blocking ability, that he might be able to fill that role. But after you dug in a little bit deeper, I think he's more of a replacement for Trent Sherfield and maybe an upgrade in that role, as we didn't see much from Sherfield this past season. But, yeah, I think the Bills are going to have to look at one of those players I mentioned before, maybe a bit down the positional ranks at wide receiver. I don't know if you're going to see any of the top five when the Bills come pick.
Alex, when we look ahead now to the end of April and the draft, we know that the front end of the draft won't really impact the Buffalo Bills. I mean, Bean could be mobile, but doubtful that he's moving into the top 10 with, all of the needs in this team and the amount of draft picks that he has. However, who gets taken at the front of the draft will be impactful to the Buffalo Bills if they do stay at 28 or in that general neighborhood. So how do you see it all shaking out here? What's your take on Justin Fields, the Chicago Bears, that first overall pick? Who might be mobile? Who might be moving? Who might be moving around? And how many quarterbacks and receivers do you think will be off the board before they get to the Bills here later in the first round?
Yeah, like I said, at wide receiver, I think you'll see at least 4 gone before the Bills come pick. But when you talk about Justin Fields and the Bears, that's your team danger, and that's certainly a conundrum that they're facing. I'm hearing that Fields is going to stick around in Chicago, but did I hear correctly that they might also draft Caleb Williams?
Mm-hmm. Oh, if they stay at 1, they're drafting Caleb Williams.
Right, and that would certainly present an interesting situation for Chicago and Cannon Dagwin, Ryan Poles, but I think a lot left to be seen in terms of the draft and the moving and shaking. This is certainly going to be interesting with the Bears having Justin Fields, a player that they drafted at the top not too long ago, and another opportunity presented for them right here. So I think they have a big decision in front of them.
Alex Braxke, Batavia Daily News, Bills Digest, our guest here. Alex, I'm going to make a statement. You tell me if it's true or false here, and no waffling in between. So far, here as we are officially underway in free agency, since this all began on Monday, the Buffalo Bills have not lost any ground on their AFC East rivals, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Jets. Is that a true or false statement?
Oh, I think absolutely true. You look at the losses that the Dolphins have sustained, and it seems like they're signing the castaways from the Bills. They've now signed Jordan Poyer, who you talked about, and Saran Neal to low-level contracts. But, yeah, I think the Dolphins are taking a step back in hopes of maybe rebuilding on the fly behind Tua, and it looks like they're going to have to re-sign him to a big-money contract. The Jets have a quarterback who's thinking about running for vice president. And the Patriots just traded their former starting quarterback and have a new head coach. So I don't think the Bills have gone anywhere in terms of the pecking order in the AFC East. You still have Josh Allen. You have the status quo with Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane at the top of the food chain. I know you have 2 new coordinators coming in, but they're homegrown. You've re-signed a couple of players that you needed to re-sign. So I think it's all going to depend on what happens over these over these next couple of weeks here, and especially down the line when you have Tre'Davious White's $10 million come off the books June 1st. So I think a lot left to be seen here for the Bills, and I don't think they've lost any ground in terms of their race to be divisional champions.
All right, Alex, talk a little bit about your coverage, what you're working on at the Batavia Daily News, and also Bills Digest that we can check out.
Yeah, a little bit of a slow go at the Daily News. Just wrapped up our high school sports coverage, but pumping out the articles as they come with the Bills signings, re-signings, restructures, and so on and so forth. We just had our free agent issue for the Bills Digest, and we'll have our draft issue coming out shortly. I'll post links to that and promote that on my Twitter page at Alex Braskey and at Bills Digest.
When do we get a Section 5 football schedule? I mean, I think that's got to be the first one up here, Alex.
Yeah, I'm hoping soon, because obviously that is big for us with all the live streams that we do and it's a busy time of year for us, Gene. So they better get that out soon. That's for darn sure.
All right, Alex. Enjoy the rest of your week, and we appreciate you carving out some time for us here in the Sports Bar. Talk soon, bud.
Always appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot.
Alex Brasky, the Batavia Daily News. You can check his work out, Bill's Digest as well, and worth a follow on X at Alex Brasky.
That's that point I want to make again. That have we ever been at a point where like, hey, here comes the contender ready to, like last year you were like, you could see
Dolphins. Last year, Dolphins.
Last year, Jets, I would say. Like, if Aaron Rodgers is playing peak and the national media was selling you this narrative that the Jets were coming for Buffalo, and the Jets' defense at one point was giving Buffalo problems.
Yeah, I think last year felt like a bigger threat because you had the Jets and you had the Dolphins. Like, the Dolphins were a playoff team the year before. They bowed out to the Bills, and you expected them to take a step up, and ultimately they kind of flatlined. They did exactly what they did the prior year. They got off to a pretty decent start and fell off a little bit at the end and ultimately got bounced in the first round of the playoffs during Wild Card weekend. And the Jets obviously the Jets are the Jets. I mean, in maybe Aaron Rodgers being kind of disconnected now because we haven't really heard anything from him except for this story about him potentially being a running. Like, it's just perfect. It's so Jets.
It's perfect. And this is, if I have a wish here, this would be my wish. Because I think Sauce Gardner is taking this kind of, I'm vocal, I'm the leader of this team, as he should. He's really one of the best in the game. And, like, he should be the face of the franchise. And you have the quarterback who, at the end of last year, if you just read the quote, if it was just from somebody else, hey, we need to cut all the outside noise. Okay, well, if you're Sauce Gardner, call out your teammate. Call out your teammate for saying, hey, this is ridiculous. I'm just concentrating on football. But you know what? They don't do that.
Yeah. I think what his quote was today, Gardner's quote was today, is what he's considering to run for vice president, or he's going to be a running mate. Yeah. No wonder he's not answering my text messages. How's that off season going?
Yeah, well,
good culture.
That's sort of calling out your quarterback in a way.
Right. Like no wonder he won't respond to my text messages. Well, Aaron Rodgers in the past has gone into darkness retreats where he wouldn't be able to respond to a text message. Maybe he's on a retreat. He's had reception issues, right? Like that was an issue with Green Bay. He didn't have good reception once when
he is in love with himself. And when you're in love with yourself, you'll love reading headlines about yourself, and you're just addicted to the validation. And, geez, like me, the vice president, imagine. I want it to happen, Danger. I want it to happen. Oh,
as if we weren't screwed enough. Let's wish this on our country. What are we talking about? Aaron Rodgers, VP. My God. And if he is seriously considering it, like that's the most hilarious part of all of it. Like you really are, you could play football next year, right? You're still under contract. You're recovering from that, or is he just done? Is he frustrated with the Jets and everything?
They got Tyrod. Everything is fine.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good for everybody involved with that football organization. Happy Hour is next in the Sports Bar.
It is.
We welcome you to join us at 866-4FAN 585-866-4326. Happy New Year. The NFL League year got underway earlier this hour, 4 o'clock, and we will recap today's activity on the Free Agent Wire. And there are a couple of Bills notes that we'll mention and pass along to you as well. That's all coming up here on the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester. It is me, Mike Danger, for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. FanDuel is putting the ball in your court for the rest of the NBA season, because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Let's see here. What do I like tonight on the NBA slate? We had PJ Glasser on with us earlier, and one of the plays that I think both he and I like in that Lakers-Kings matchup, little odds boost right now on FanDuel as well for LeBron and Anthony Davis to combine for 50 points. Yeah, I think I like that. You can bet the NBA with a wide range of bet types. Everything from quick bets to live same-game parlays, player props, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from
The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
Free agency officially beginning today in the NFL. More movement surrounding the Buffalo Bills coming in. Mac Hollins, a wide receiver last year with the Falcons, formerly with the Raiders, the Eagles, and the Dolphins in his career. Chris Brown with more.
Hollins, who played last season for Atlanta, 31 years old, had 18 receptions last season. He was buried on the depth chart in Atlanta on the offensive side of the ball, but he also is a core special teams player. He brings some much-needed size to the receiving core at 6'4", 221 pounds, but a big, tall, rangy guy.
Now, following Jordan Poyer to Miami is Saran Neal. Neal going to the Dolphins. Dane Jackson goes to Carolina. 1 year, up to $14.5 million. Amherst are down the throughway tonight at Syracuse. Andrew Mossbrooks will have the call. Syracuse basketball tonight, round 2 of the ACC tournament. The Orange to face NC State. Gene Battaglia, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
The NFL's new league year begins today, which means all these signings and trades you've been hearing about since Monday can become official.
Mac Hollins, wide receiver.
I think it is low-key perfect.
Bills also reportedly agreed to terms with Eagles free agent linebacker Nicholas Morrow.
We've won the offseason, Gene, with that move.
I trust Brandon.
Picked off! Intercepted by Jordan Poyer in the end zone! He picked it off!
Mike Danger.
I feel like we've kind of telegraphed every move that Brandon Beane has made, which may not be a good thing, because if we can do it, then the rest of the league kind of knows what your priorities are and what you're doing. Is Beane settling, or is he actually trying to work that comp pick formula to his advantage here for 2025?
Gene Battaglia.
No, I think that the expectation is the Bills are going to wait and see what's available here maybe next week, maybe a month from now.
7-3, Sabres beat the Red Wings.
The fraudulent Detroit Red Wings.
Amerks Crunch. 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Yeah, your proud home of Rochester Americans hockey. The Fan, Rochester, with Amerks Hockey tonight at 7. Don Stevens will be by with the call as the team is in Syracuse to take on the Crunch. We welcome you into the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Thanks for listening at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app or your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And don't forget about the video stream, our YouTube channel, The Fan Rochester, also streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. I think this is hilarious. The Tennessee Titans are about to pay Mason Rudolph more for one season of football than the Pittsburgh Steelers are about to pay Russell Wilson for one season of football.
All right, then maybe that's good business on the Steelers for saving money, because I've heard this from Steeler fans. Well, you gave Rudolph a shot. He looked okay in the playoff game. No, I mean, the answer is go find a quarterback perhaps in the draft. I thought the Steelers all along should have been in on Justin Fields, and maybe they will be. Maybe that's how this all plays out ultimately. I'm still standing by my take, Mike Danger, that opening day, Russell Wilson is not on the Steeler roster.
I think it's a bold prediction. I love it. I think it's a great prediction. Now, I mentioned earlier how I was having lunch with my buddy. My buddy's a Steelers fan who I was having lunch with today, and he's convinced that Justin Fields should be in Pittsburgh. He's like, he belongs in Pittsburgh. He'd be good for Pittsburgh. He would be there. We're trying to figure out how that works, how that scenario plays out. I mean, if you're Kenny Pickett, with everything to prove, the thing about that I can't let go of is the Steelers have never really admitted that they were wrong on something, right? They just don't give off this impression.
Not many teams do, though.
Right,
yeah.
right. But to pull the rug out from Kenny Pickett is an admission that we whiffed on a first-round quarterback, which is a black eye for any organization.
You know, the 49ers did that with Trey Lance, and look where it got him. Hey, we have something better. The answer is that right now, the Steelers don't have any better answers. They're hoping Russell Wilson. As far as the Bears here, Danger, what's funny is I didn't tell you a story. Friend of the show, Chris Fix, if you work in the restaurant business, you know the guy. He's a really great guy. He's a Bears fan, and you are all the same. Hey, what do you think is going to happen? They're just going to screw it up. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
am I talking to Danger?
One constant is they will mess it up. The Bears always screw up quarterback. So you could see this playing out. You could see the disaster that is about to happen in Chicago at quarterback, right? Because they're not going to get what they want for a value for Fields. Right now, they're probably thinking, Justin Fields, we can get a second, we can get a third. You're not getting a second or a third right now for Justin Fields. Not when Mac Jones is going to Jacksonville for a sixth. Mac Jones has a playoff appearance on his resume. Does Justin Fields? So right now is not the time for them to get that value. And maybe if they're lucky, after the first round of the NFL draft, a team that didn't get the quarterback that they wanted in the first round, maybe then you can swing a deal for Justin Fields, knowing you've selected Caleb Williams with the first overall pick. And if that doesn't happen, now you've got to go the route of the Cleveland Browns, right? Do you remember the Cleveland Browns when they made the trade for Deshaun Watson with Baker Mayfield still on the roster? And you knew it was like, all right, that's the end of Baker Mayfield. And they basically told Baker Mayfield, stay home. You stay in shape, go work out.
Did Carolina flip anything for Baker Mayfield? I don't remember how that played out. They must have.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just releasing Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, they got something for Baker Mayfield, but it wasn't nearly the value that you would think for the first overall pick in that year's draft. And for the Bears, like, that's what I could see happening now. I could see them not getting, because they're waiting. They want, and maybe preseason comes around and Russell Wilson gets injured, or somebody gets injured. It's an inevitability. And now you've got a team that's desperate. Okay, fine. We'll give you a third for Justin Fields. Can we just have him and have this be over with? Otherwise, it's a disaster. I mean, like, if you're just going to have to be patient and hope that it's not too much of a distraction to have two quarterbacks that believe they should be QB1 on the same team. What a mess. And how did we get here? Mason Rudolph has signed with the Tennessee Titans, 1 year, $3.62 million.
Which I think that also crossed. I thought maybe the Titans could have been one of those sneaky teams that would bring in Justin Fields. Probably not. Now, we invite your calls, 866-4326, 866-4FAN, F-A-N. That's the easy way to remember it. You can tweet us or hit us on X at The Fan Rochester, our handle. The Bills bringing in a wide receiver. Hey, if the Bills did it, we love the move, Danger.
Yeah, well, I've got the flow chart here, right here in front of me.
Okay, what's the flow chart?
I'm just saying, the flow chart says for free agency, as our buddy Jeremy White from WGR always reminds us, the free agency flow chart goes, if your team signs the free agent, you love the move. If another team signs a free agent, too much money. Do I have it right?
Yeah. Yeah, or like there's another flow chart, another angle there too. Like in the case of Jordan Poyer, yeah, you know what? He's a backup anyway.
Yeah, he's not a starter anymore. He was a starter last year, just as recently as a few months ago. But now, no, I don't think so. Not in Miami. Nope. Can't start. Nothing left in the tank. You sure about that? Because I think Jordan Poyer is probably going to start in the Miami secondary next season.
But good for him. And, I'll tell you who won't start, but good for Saran Neal that he found the job today. The one surprising thing, and look, we could joke about, wow, that's way too much money. Who's the dumbest team in the NFL right
it's
now?
Carolina. The whole conversation we're having about the Bears is spurred by Carolina being dumb. Carolina's
Right,
dumb. They're a dumb team. And good for Dane Jackson. This is a lot of money for a guy that the Bills needed to trade somebody to bring in somebody at corner because Dane Jackson was a liability in this defense.
Dane Jackson was the guy who, in a cover 3, missed the assignment, letting Kelsey wide open on the left side.
Ouch.
Dane Jackson can tackle. He's a reserve in this league. A back. He started 28 games in his time for Buffalo. That's really good for a 7th-round pick, but to get, and again, sometimes it's funny money, so we don't know how much up front and how much. All told, it could be $14.5 million over 2 years.
But why Carolina, Gene? Why would Carolina look at Dane Jackson and be like, hey, this guy's worth this money. We believe in Dane Jackson.
Their GM's Dan Morgan, the guy who worked under Brandon Beane. And he was responsible for bringing in Jackson in 2020.
Drafted him out of Pitt.
This sport is poison with who you know. Like, instead of going out and trying to get the best player, it's who you know. We went to battle together, and I'm loyal to. Okay, that counts for something. It shouldn't count for everything.
Right, and maybe find the best players. Dane Jackson's nice, but could you have found something better? Well, in the eyes of Morgan, probably not.
No, that's the one where, I think we all can kind of agree. $2 million for Jordan Poyer from Miami, probably starts in Miami. That's good value. Hate going to see facing Jordan Poyer twice a year, maybe if he's healthy. Dane Jackson, $14.5 million. Are they high? No, they're just dumb. They're dumb.
Well, Dane Jackson could slide into a role left vacated. Speaking of Carolina, they made another move. They traded for Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh. They gave up their corner, Dante Jackson, and a 6th-round pick for a guy that in Pittsburgh largely is known for not being able to catch the football. That's Deontay Johnson. Can't catch the football. Every Steeler fan knows that I'm right. You know the player. Frustrating, maddening. Can't catch the football.
Great separation.
Can't catch the football.
What does it matter in the end?
Yeah. He's going to Carolina. So you got that off your ledger, Pittsburgh. Congratulations. And now you've got a corner and an additional 6th-round pick. Pittsburgh finds ways to find this value all the time.
We got breaking news in the sports bar.
Okay, let's get to it.
It really hit me. I didn't know it was coming back that far.
All right, so we have a decision from Calvin Ridley, and we reportedly had 2 finalists. Everybody's saying, it's down to the Jags, it's down to the Patriots. Neither. Calvin Ridley going to Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah.
Do we have terms?
Nope. This is just a wrap.
Doesn't matter because it's too much money. It does too much money. Whatever it is, let me tell you, whatever he's getting, they overspent for Calvin Ridley.
Well, I think that's the last hope. And for the record, I was never on the Calvin Ridley should be your number 2 here in Buffalo, regardless of the money. I think you should, the draft probably the better way to go, or just kind of wait and see what might kind of fall to you in the second wave of free agency. But right now, who's the number 2 receiver on this Buffalo Bills team? It's not Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins, if anything, he's going to be number 5. Special teamer, taking the spot of Trent Sherfield. I still think Khalil Shakir is a very nice receiver. He's a perfect number 3. So that number 2 guy probably in the draft. Do you consider a guy that was released today? Because
I was just looking at the list, Gino. Yeah. Mike Williams was released by the Chargers. Now, he was due to make $20 million, so he's a $20 million savings for the Chargers coming off of a torn ACL. 29 years old. Always have loved Mike Williams, a player. He's had some health issues, and he's not a big separator. He's more of a go-up-and-get-it guy. Hunter Renfrow, the other name, 28 years old, out of being released today by the Raiders. So Renfrow, to me, is Les Welker. He's that Cole Beasley kind of receiver, and I don't know. I mean, the production fell off big time the last 2 years, but you could also point to him not having a quarterback. Can Hunter Renfrow still separate? I think that is to be determined. And also, Odell Beckham Jr. will be a post-June 1st cut in Baltimore after they restructured his deal earlier in the offseason. So he'll be out there. There's still a handful. Michael Thomas didn't pass his physical. He'll be a post-June 1st cut out of New Orleans.
Even though it's cap-wise post-June 1st, you can go get those guys right now, though. That's kind of the new rule, and that would include Tre'Davious White as well. That's the one that the Buffalo Bills, not to take it in a different direction, Danger, but the Bills put out the goodbye video today.
Yeah. I mean, they had to release him on Wednesday to make sure they had enough time to splice together a really good homage, a really nice tribute video, so that when the league year got underway, they could pay tribute to the guy that they basically said hit the bricks. I mean, does that soften the blow, Trey? Does a nice tribute video showing you how much you meant, or would you rather play football? I think these guys all would rather play football. The idea that these teams do this all the time on social media just drives me crazy.
Well, for Trey White, who he is an emotional player, I will say that. The brief dealings I've had with him, I could see him going somewhere like the Dolphins. I could see him just wanting to try to some team like that would be like, okay, we're not going to pay a lot of money, but come on in here. So
New England, right? Yeah. Well, we'll see, and we'll see how that recovery goes. Man, I'm telling you, based on what we learned yesterday, that signing of Nicholas Morrow, linebacker, that's the one that has me saying, everybody that wants to believe that Matt Milano is going to be ready to go week 1, pump the brakes. If you think Matt Milano is going to be ready week 1 and be the same Matt Milano you saw before the injury in London, pump the brakes once again.
It's not an ACL. It's an ACL and a fractured leg. Brutal.
Love Matt Milano. Love the player. Hope he's recovering nicely, but we don't know. And even when we see him at training camp, we won't know just whether or not Milano is that player or is ready to go for week 1. So at minimum, you bring in a guy like Morrow who can maybe be a little insurance. He's got some recent experience in starting. And when you consider that this was a team starting A.J. Klein and Tyrell Dodson last year, yeah, bring in a guy that could be an upgrade.
From Chris Trapasso, because we like to keep track of this stuff here in the sports bar because we don't know the official Morrow/Howland's money. Now, I've seen the one report, Danger, that's 1 year, $3 million, but is that $3 million with incentives in there? I'm not sure. We got to wait on that.
What's the base, right?
Yeah. The Bills right now, because we don't know, are +3 in the compensatory pick formula for 2025. Wow. Leonard Floyd, Dane Jackson, count that one. And Gabe Davis, of course. Technically no qualifying UFAs, but that could change if Morrow Hollins are over $1.69 million in average per year.
Okay. Worth paying attention to. I wonder if Brandon Beane is like going on a vengeance spree here. Like he thought he was getting a third. It ended up getting a fourth. Like this year, I'm going to go for it, man. We're going to get...
Or he's calling the man like, listen, I thought we had a third-round pick.
Yeah, by the way, they did change that for one of the teams getting comp picks.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like what else does it happen? If you miss it, Cincinnati's like, oh, you know what? We forgot to mention the Bengals got a third-round pick. What?
Yeah. They're making it up. They're making it up as they go. They have no idea. They're making it up as they go. There's a formula that exists, but they don't share the formula. They don't want us to know the formula because they're making it up as they go. Yeah, Brandon Beane's going to clean up in the compensatory draft pick formula next year. He's pissed. This is the Brandon Beane Vengeance Tour. All of the outgoing free agents get signed, and Brandon Beane holds steady and true and brings home all of the comp picks in 2025. You have numbers on Calvin Ridley.
4 years, $92.50 guaranteed.
Too much money. Way too much money. The Bills would never. Am I following the flow chart properly?
That is that. Can I agree with that, though, and not say that sarcastically?
No,
$50 million for a guy who was suspended because he couldn't lay off the phone and place a bet? Are you kidding?
I can't judge him for that.
You're not signing some agreement, Danger,
no,
as
you're
part
right.
of your employment.
You're right. I think, in fact, as part of my employment, I think they expect me to sign under my phone.
Yeah.
That's a lot of cake. And I imagine that Calvin Ridley still has some juice left in the tank. But man, that offense in Tennessee, who's throwing him the ball?
Will Levis.
Will Levis?
They like Will Levis there. I'm telling you, Will Levis is going to be the guy. And they today signed Mason Rudolph.
Anybody else? Is it just those two? I felt like there was somebody else.
The kid from Liberty is still there.
Oh, Willis.
Yeah.
I think that's the pick that broke Mike Vrabel in Tennessee. I think he was so against that pick that from that moment on, he's just, I'm done. I'm out of here. Got to sign this guy. He can't play. The Bills making that Mac Hollis move that we discussed. We mentioned Poyer signing with the Dolphins, if you missed it. Also, Saran Neal, Dane Jackson, of course, we touched on. What else am I forgetting here? Oh, Danielle Hunter was traded last night. He signed with the Texans on a 2-year deal now worth $48 million. So one of the best free agent pass rushers on the market is available. Isaiah McKenzie is going to the Giants.
Shocking. Brian Dable. Wow, bringing that. Which the Giants reportedly are not going to tender a restricted free agent. We all know Isaiah Hodgins, wide receiver. Now, Isaiah Hodgins 2 years ago when he burst, I said, like, oh, we could have used this guy. And then what happened last year? Like, you could say, well, quarterback.
Yeah, I wonder if there's something with Hodgins' attitude, though. It feels like the production was there for that blip, but he could never get on the field in Buffalo. And it disappeared last year.
First year he was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came in the same class as Gabe Davis. You don't realize he's been around that long.
Yeah, that's right. The other name to watch, and this is just something that has happened here in the last hour or so with the start of the new league year. The Niners officially releasing Eric Armstead, and a report out of San Francisco, The Athletic, reporting that keep an eye on Buffalo. I'm paraphrasing what he tweeted out there, but
that's exactly it. So keep an eye on Buffalo. Eric Armstead is not going to come cheap. So what?
Well, he wouldn't take the pay cut from the Niners. The Niners wanted him at a figure, and he wouldn't take that number. So what is that number? What is the number that he can be at peace with if a team like the Bills were to make him an offer?
Let's look this up in real time, Mike Danger.
Okay.
Because Eric Armstead, oh my gosh. Like all of a sudden now the defensive line would be a strength if you could rotate Daquan Jones, Eric Armstead, and Ed Oliver. His dead cap for the Niners. Now let's see here. His cap hit for 2024 with San Francisco would have been $28 million.
Jeez.
Yeah. His base salary for the Niners this year was 17.4.
Right.
So let's start there. 17.4. I don't know how the Bills fit even at this point.
Not happening.
No, not happening.
And so if you want to get him, can you get him at a price that what is that number? What is that? If you're paying Daquan, what is it? 12.5?
Yeah. So right. So you're giving a bigger bonus. Maybe you do it over 3 years here, Danger.
Player's younger than Daquan. Not by much, but he is younger.
He is 30.
Yeah. Not by much, but he is younger. Do you invest more in Armstead than you have already invested in Daquan Jones? I have a hard time believing it. I mean, I don't know what the pay cut was that the Niners were offering to him that made him say no, but is it $10 million?
So the Niners are going to take a $26 million dead cap here. Now, they could spread that over 2 years. I haven't seen what they're going to do with that, if they're making it post-June 1st or not. There's another option. You're going to free up cap space by renegotiating Diggs. That's the last one. I don't think you do that. I don't think you can do that. I think you're biting. You're looking at Steph Diggs, and if he takes
ride it out,
you can move on from him after next year.
Ride it out.
Yeah.
Just ride it out. See what this year looks like and ride it out. I don't think you can do that. I think everybody likes him. I do believe Brandon Beane when he says, we believe Steph Diggs is number one. I think Brandon Beane actually believes that. And you know what? I still believe that. I don't believe what we saw at the end of last year is on Steph Diggs. I think that was a function of a new offensive coordinator, just a quarterback not able to get on the same page with his receiver. And I think that, maybe if we've learned anything, maybe next season, this upcoming season, for fantasy purposes, we think of Steph Diggs early and we sell high after the first few games on Steph Diggs. Speaking of fantasy, by the way, tomorrow at 3:25, our buddy Andy Behrens from Yahoo Fantasy.
Yeah, we'll look at all this through a different lens. Am I allowed to ask one baseball question when we get in?
Oh, of course. Well, normally we would have him on this time of year to talk about fantasy baseball. Every year I say the same thing. Every year I'm like, let's get Andy in here. Let's talk fantasy baseball. This is the year. And every year I'm like, I'll just add it to the list. I never do it.
We got our IT head coach Wayne Wilson coming up later this hour, as well as the Tigers are home Friday night, game 1 against Niagara in the Atlantic Hockey semifinal.
A week from tomorrow, the tournament gets underway. Opening day of the tournament. It is one of the best days, if not the best day on the sports calendar. Wall-to-wall action, and we're going to be in the middle of all of it at the tap room at Bill Gray's Chilai Avenue location, the sports bar broadcasting live. Stop out, say hi to Gino and I during the tournament action.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
And great plates. Thursdays at Bill Gray's. The low price of $9.99.
9 times.
Gino, this This is us written all over it.
Right, yeah. So, like, you come hang out with us a little bit. And if you're not familiar with that location, the tap room is actually in the back. So, the restaurant in the front, you can park in the back or park in the front if you want. So, and actually, you can order the plate and bring it into the bar area and watch with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We'll look forward to seeing you there for the first day of the tournament. The tap room at Bill Gray's Chila Ave location, that is a week from tomorrow. The Sports Bar live from the tap room at Bill Gray's in Chila. A round of shots next, Gino.
Yeah, so we'll get you set up for tonight here. The Sabres actually showing some signs of life. Are you buying in on this? And there are so many cool stories here in college basketball. We'll tell you one, actually, that has a big Section 5 tie to it.
Okay. That's coming up. A round of shots and RIT men's hockey coach Wayne Wilson, all before 6 here on The Fan.
You're listening to the Sports Bar. Rochester Sports Update.
More free agency movement today in the NFL, including the Buffalo Bills, bringing in a wide receiver, Mac Hollins, formerly of Atlanta, came into the league with Philadelphia, also with the Raiders and the Dolphins. Hollins gets a one-year deal. He's 31 years old. Following Jordan Poyer to Miami is Saran Neal. Neal agreeing to a deal with the Dolphins. Dane Jackson also leaving Buffalo. Jackson gets a 2-year deal worth up to $14.5 million with the Carolina Panthers. Safety Cam Lewis is coming back. He is excited for what's ahead.
Like I said, I've always been preparing to be a starter, like since day one. So I don't think my mindset or confidence changed. It's just making the most out of this opportunity that's ahead of me. So just going out here and just compete.
Amherst are down the thruway tonight at Syracuse. Syracuse basketball taking on NC State at 7 o'clock. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Rochester's home for live sports and the best sports talk anywhere. The sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
This next game up, right? So this time of the year, the most important game you play is the game in front of you. And so tonight it's Wednesday at Syracuse. So, we know them, they know us. There's no secrets. They got a really good team. They got a really good lineup right now, and it's gonna be a great challenge.
Rochester Americans head coach Seth Appert, Syracuse. The opponent tonight, you can hear the action. Your proud home of Amherst hockey. 95.7 The Fan. Puck drop at 7 o'clock tonight. And while we're talking hockey, let's get to a round of shots in the sports bar.
Sabres won the trade, Mike Danger. We could say that.
Oh, yeah.
Ball Byram, defenseman.
No question. Sabres won the deal.
2 goals last night. Defenseman came over in that deal for Casey Middlestad from Colorado. Buffalo 7-3 over Detroit. As a result, Buffalo has now closed within 5 points of the Red Wings for the final playoff spot in the East. Same 2 teams meet Saturday in Motown. Before that, it's a home game against the Islanders tomorrow night. Again, another team that the Sabres are chasing. In their last 11 games, Buffalo 7-3-1. Meanwhile, that was loss number 6 in a row for Detroit.
Detroit are a bunch of frauds. They're not going to make the postseason. The Sabres should beat Detroit when they face them again later this weekend. The Islanders game is intriguing. I like Bo Byram. I think that him playing up on that top pairing with Rasmus Dahlin is something he's probably licking his chops for his entire career. He hadn't had the opportunity to do that in Colorado, and he's making the most of that opportunity. They looked like a different team last night against a downtrodden Red Wings team, no less, but they were fun to watch last night.
It could be too little, too late as you go to the stats here, and Money Puck and The Athletic both giving the Sabres a 3% chance to make the postseason.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a chance.
Yeah!
I would put my money on 97%.
You know what, Gino? Sometimes just setting your money ablaze is more fun.
Whenever you hear the name Dr. Neil Elitatre, it's not good. Yankee ace Garrett Cole is going to go visit the L.A. doctor. He did get an MRI in Florida, but the Yankees been kind of murky about what's actually going on. Now, we should point this out. Cole was with the Pirates. He did have pain in the elbow. Turned out it was just inflammation, and it only required rest, and he got back at it. That was, though, back in 2016.
So, best case scenario is he's back after the All-Star break.
No, I think best case scenario is Memorial Day.
Yeah, but let's be realistic. Realistically, after the All-Star break, is that realistic?
Realistically, this sounds like Tommy John.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
This sounds like, we really. If you're going to multiple doctors, you're waiting for the doctor to give you the answer that you want. Basically, is that the way it works normally? Yeah. 2 teams in the Western Conference farting around in terms of the play-in round and standings.
Oh, they're in the hunt.
Yeah, Golden State and Dallas, they square off tonight. Now, no Steph Curry. He's nursing a sprained ankle. In all, there are 9 games in the NBA tonight.
9 times.
Doubleheader on ESPN as a rematch of last year's final. Denver taking on Miami at 7:30. Sacramento and the Lakers coming up at 10.
Luka going for another triple-double as well. What has he got, up to 7, 8? I mean, Luka, come on, for the sports bar. You know how many in a row you need to knock down.
No. He did not. The streak was 35. Oh, you're talking about triple-doubles.
Triple-doubles.
In general, yeah. He had the record with the 35-point triple-doubles that we was going with.
Yeah, and I think tonight he goes for is it his 8th straight? I want to say.
Get to 9.
For the sports bar. You know what to do.
9 times.
Syracuse basketball tonight facing NC State in the ACC tournament. The Wolfpack get to the second round after rallying down from 12 against the 15th ranked Louisville Cardinals. By the way, Louisville firing head coach Kenny Payne. He's gone out.
Shocking.
Syracuse, third meeting between the Orange and the Wolfpack this season. The Orange winning the other two, 77-65 back on January 27th at home, 87-83 in Raleigh on February 20th. Syracuse at 20-11 on the season. Coverage tonight on ESPN2 at 7 o'clock.
Can I say it?
Feels like a
win.
I agree.
Feels like a win.
I agree.
Not excited about Duke, but feels like a win tonight.
Yeah, now get Orange fans like, oh, could we get in the Dayton play-in round if they... Finally, there's many cool stories surrounding college basketball this time of year, and this one comes from Wagner basketball. Wagner back in the tournament by winning the Northeast Conference. They won over Merrimack. The Seahawks won despite having only 7 healthy players available. In fact, it's nothing new. The rash of injuries forcing the team to work differently. The team hasn't had a full contact practice since December. They were just 7-9 in conference play. This season, there is a local tie-in. One of those 7 healthy bodies, Melvin Council Jr., the UPrep grad, averaging 14 points a game this season. He scored 12 points last night in the win, playing all 40 minutes.
We claim him as ours. He is one of us. And I worry about the precedent this sets. No contact during practice. I mean, if the NBA starts hearing about these practices, they're going to want that worked into the new CBA.
Well, maybe that's a pitch here for any, NIL. Look, we can't offer you as much money over here, but you know what?
Practices are just, it's just a shoot around, man. You don't have to worry about anything. No contact. No full contact practice. It's December. Wow. Well, congratulations.
Don't step off a curb. Don't go out of your home. You can't get sick.
Amazing.
7.
Amazing. That's a great story. Another great story. How about the RIT men's hockey team? Silly audience. Segues are for kids. Wayne Wilson joins us next in the sports bar.
Tigers dropped the hammer on Robert Morris, but now the step up in weight class. It's Niagara time, and win the series. You go to a one-game winner, take all championship game. We'll get the thoughts of the head coach at RIT next.
He's joining us next in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia. It's me, Mike Danger, for FanDuel Sportsbook, inviting you to bet the NBA with a no-sweat same-game parlay from FanDuel every Thursday with TNT Thursdays. FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan, and it doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, you're going to get bonus bets back if your same-game parlay doesn't win on any NBA on TNT game. NBA same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance to score a bigger payday. However you want to play, just head to FanDuel.com/Mike to bet the NBA with a no-sweat same-game parlay with TNT Thursdays. That's FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Refund issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
You're listening to the Sports Bar.
Yeah, this is where they got to last year, and really convincing weekend over Robert Morris, but now a little bit of a step up in weight class. As Niagara is the opponent, or guess head coach Wayne Wilson. Wayne, appreciate the time today. Gosh, your thoughts on how not only did you win, but you made it look relatively easy over Robert Morris. How are you today, Coach?
Good, thanks, and thanks for having me on. And it wasn't easy, I can tell you that, but we played very well. I thought we got stronger as the weekend went along and as the games went along, and we were clicking. I mean, we had our special teams were going and goaltending and 5-on-5, so it worked well for us, and we're going to have to continue that because the games are only getting more and more difficult as we go along here. So our semifinal round here is we've got our hands full with Niagara.
Yeah, Niagara being the only team that took the majority of points against your team, although last time you guys met, it was an RIT 4-2 win. So what is it about this Niagara team specifically that you got to key in on, Coach?
I just think for us, we've got to play a full 60 minutes. I think they've got very good balance on their team. I don't think they had any all-league team members, but they've got a lot of players playing at a very high level. So their drop-off from line 1 to 4 is minimal, if anything. Right? So I think they've got a pretty complete team up front on defense and a goalie that's playing well. So, and to go to Sacred Heart and win 2 games says a lot about their team. So we've got our hands full, and we know that. But we also thought we played well against them, and also having the advantage of playing at home is going to be big, and hopefully we get a lot of fans out like we did last weekend, even though we were on spring break. Great turnout, and really appreciate that.
Wayne Wilson, our guest here, RT Niagara semifinals. It's a best-of-3 game 1 Friday night, and Coach, the importance of just getting that game 1 under your belt, because as you know from last year, you really don't want to risk anything with a game 3.
Right. We want to get off to a good start for a lot of reasons. This will be our last weekend of best-of-3s, and the best-of-3s go pretty quick. It's a short series. When you watch the NHL and you see those best-of-7s, they can be dragged out a while. It can be over before it begins, and then when you get to the single-game elimination after that, if you can make it that far, they're even quicker. So I think we want to play it like a single-game elimination. That first shift, the first period are going to be very important, and obviously getting the first game under our belt and trying to create some doubt in Niagara's minds, and which isn't easy. And so it's, like I said, we've got our hands full, and getting off to a good start is going to be very important.
So in the last game, Coach, we saw Cody Laskoski leave early. What is his status for this week?
Yeah, he's not going to be good for this weekend, but it's the good thing is we've got to live to play another weekend, that's for sure. But he should be back this year if we're able to prolong our season.
Yeah, and Cody Laskoski, for folks who don't know, entering last weekend, the leading point getter on the team. Coach, is it fair to say, though, and especially now with the ability of scholarships, that's a hit for you, no doubt about it, but you've got guys like Adam Jeffrey, talented guys that weren't even dressing. Is this the best depth you've had in quite some time?
Yeah, and we've got it in all positions, so we've been very fortunate with that, and we're going to miss Cody, first-team All-League, and but we do have other players that are going to be able to step up, and I think are very worthy, and are going to be, I think, impact players on the series, to be honest with you. So the people like Mills and Jeffrey are 2 guys that we're going to figure out who's best in those situations, and big shoes to fill, but I think we've got guys that are going to be able to step in.
Wayne Wilson, our guest here in the Sports Bar. The winner of this game gets the one-game winner-take-all. Not this game, the series. One-game winner-take-all next weekend. But before that, got to take care of business. Wayne, really appreciate your time. Looking forward to seeing you Friday night down at the Policini.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and hope to see a lot of people out to support us.
Thanks, Wayne.
Good luck, Coach. Wayne Wilson, RIT men's hockey. Big weekend against Niagara as they look to advance in the Atlantic Hockey Tournament.
I would have asked him, because he's also an active recruiter, right, if he had a chance to watch the Minnesota High School Championships. But I could tell Coach, he's kind of dialed in. It's playoff week. You know, it's like when we have Seth Appert on, you get a different Seth when we're in the postseason.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, for sure. There's a different level of intensity. And by the way, I don't know that Wayne Wilson is Wayne a Minnesotan? Is he somebody that came from the Pomade Plains?
No, he's from Quebec. Now a citizen, but came down. Yeah.
Yeah. See, knowing Seth Appert grew up at Park Cottage Grove, Minnesota, immediately I can talk to him about the Minnesota State High School Hockey Tournament. No. That I'm not speaking out of school. We both kind of are cut from the same cloth, and knowing how special a weekend that is in Minnesota for hockey. Good weekend this weekend for hockey here at the Policini Center, with Niagara coming in and RIT looking to advance to the final round. Hope that we have a better outcome than we had last year at this time.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun weekend. So I invite everybody down to kind of see that. Football notes here, Danger, is, nothing from the Bills here in the last half hour. We did have the Calvin Ridley signing going to Tennessee.
That's right. If you're just joining us, the moves of the day, Mac Hollins, wide receiver, joining the Bills. Some reports at 1 year, $3 million. He was with Atlanta last season. 18 catches, 251 yards. Jordan Poyer is going to be a Miami Dolphin next season. Saran Neal is going to be a Dolphin next season. Dane Jackson is going to Carolina. 2 years, up to $14.5 million. Carolina continues to be a head scratcher. Mike Williams released by the Chargers, freeing up $20 million in cap space. Everybody compliant at the start of the league year, obviously, which started at 4 o'clock this afternoon. In Tennessee, you also had Mason Rudolph getting signed as quarterback. Isaiah McKenzie has a new job. He will be signing with the Giants, reuniting him with Brian Daboll and Joe Shane from their time together, all together in Buffalo.
From the ACC tournament today, Wake Forest ending Notre Dame's season with a 13-point win. And it was Florida State defeating Virginia Tech 86-76. Now, they're showing the celebration. What they do is they have their own little bracket up, and you get to put your team name moving on in the bracket. A little excessive, the celebration there for Florida State.
Yeah, you want to throw a act like you've been there before thing, but they got to take on North Carolina next. So I guess if that's the thing that helps get you up for your big matchup against North Carolina, whatever it takes, if it's that important. But you didn't win anything. You haven't won the tournament yet. All you did was secure a spot against North Carolina.
That doesn't even get you into the NIT. You're above 500 now. Good for you.
Yeah.
Boston College, Clemson after the Syracuse game today. We were joined by PJ Glasser earlier today, and
from the ACC tournament,
right? Just like that's where you want to be. And I asked him, like, wait a second, Clemson. My eyes tell me this team. He's like, yeah, that's a team to watch if they get into the tournament.
Syracuse tonight, North Carolina State. Feels like a win to me. Gino, feels like a win to you?
Yeah, I know. Oh, to beat a team 3 years in a row is difficult. I don't know.
That'll be 7 o'clock tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to recap that outcome and also talk a little bit about tonight's outcome. The Amherst in Syracuse to take on the Crunch. Puck drop coming up here in just over an hour. Don Stevens will have the call. If you missed Alex Brasky of Bills Digest and the Batavia Daily News, or PJ Glasser with some winners for tonight in the NCAA tournament NCAA basketball and NBA action, you can get either of those conversations wherever you pod. Just search out the Sports Bar, and you'll find us. All of our guest appearances, our complete shows, available in the Odyssey app with Rewind. You can go back and listen to any part of the show that you may have missed. And don't forget about our YouTube channel where we're streaming live at The Fan Rochester, also on Twitch at The Fan Rochester. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you liking, subscribing, sharing with a friend, and keeping the wind in the sails of our little pirate ship here known as the Sports Bar. So tomorrow, as I mentioned, Andy Behrens, Yahoo Fantasy Sports, stopping by at 3:25. We will start discussing some of these new destinations for familiar faces and what it's done to the landscape of fantasy football. Russell Wilson with the Steelers. What does that mean? Kirk Cousins with the Atlanta Falcons. What about those offensive weapons moving forward? Andy Barron's always great with this time, one of our favorites, joining us from Yahoo Fantasy at 3:25 tomorrow afternoon. Gino, have a great night.
Thanks, you too, Danger.
JR Sport Brief next on The Fan, Rochester.
It's that time again.